Yeah.
So
I'm glad you're making the time.
yeah, so I was dying when I was re-listening to our interview because I was like, what did I say then? Who am I now? I remember at the end being like,
Wow.
I can't wait to hear you edit this. And you go, I'm not editing it.
I don't.
And I was like, what did I say?
Yeah.
And when it came out, I was like,
I appreciate you trusting the process.
yeah, dude, it's art, right? So today I was like, he doesn't edit it.
Yeah,
So
not really.
Take your time and don't say like.
Within the 2 years, when you rewatched the last time you came on, did you notice, is there a palpable difference between 2 year ago, I was going to say 2 year old, 2 year ago MK?
Yeah. It's crazy. I mean, there's some things that are still the same.
Okay.
I'm still the artist in residence at the Ambassador.
Did you think it would last this long?
No. But I love them so much.
Yeah.
I'm not going to say
Wow, good catch. Mm-hmm. Where do you think...
It's like The Office.
Yeah. Where's the camera?
You guys, he has a full new setup. And there's not a camera over here, but I do want to...
Yeah.
Proud of you.
Yeah, yeah. Where do you think the sense of fulfillment comes from then with partnering with Ambassador?
I feel like they're family at this point, and I just want them to win as much as I want to win. And by winning, I just mean doing well.
Right.
Like from the establishment as the business to the employees as humans in their own lives. I've become such good friends with everybody, truly.
Right.
A lot of them are still from when I started.
Okay.
There's some new faces, love them too. Because it's hospitality and things are ever changing. And so my goal, though, is to create an art program there. It's just, it's not as simple as you'd like it to be.
Yeah.
You know?
I guess what ingredients at this point in time are you seeking or cultivating to generate that sense of fulfillment that will transcend the feeling of just another job?
Hold on. Rewind one more time because I want to answer this correctly.
Yeah. I guess what part of it doesn't have to be with the Ambassador, but relationships that you're navigating at the moment or projects that you're working on, what ingredients of that project are you looking for or cultivating, if you have that ability, that will transcend this feeling of just another paycheck, another job?
This makes sense to me. Yeah, because at first I was really identifying it to just the hotel.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
because
it's a different
the question
answer,
came from how much creative control you had or have.
Oh, yeah.
And I remember when, not just implementing an art program, but trying to put the Ambassador back on the map as a destination hotel.
Can I touch on that Ambassador really quick? It's such a beautiful hotel.
Yeah.
And you've been there a million times with me now. We've shot there. I do feel like I've helped put it back on the map, at least in the creative community with artists, and at least in my network of people. I talk about it everywhere. If you know me, you know that I'm there.
Yeah.
It's very clear as day. So with that, projects I'm working on, relationships I'm in, what I'm putting my energy into now and what I'm like looking to get out of it, is that more so what we're identifying right now? I would say my goal is still the same, that MKODJ is going to be an internationally known artist.
Yeah.
I have, shown. Have I shown in other countries? No, not yet. Soon to be. I had some offers, but here's the thing. There's some galleries that are like pay to play.
Oh.
And you can do it that way. I'm just not going to do it that way. So I've had opportunities to show in London, but I didn't take them. Rewind. Okay, so right now what I look for in projects, I would say it's to always get closer to that goal. So for me, I recently just, in the last interview, I talked about how I wanted to just put my language and my art on fabric and work with a designer. The big idea is for New York Fashion Week one day with a designer. Recently, though, I did it with a Chicago-based artist, and Andrew Hong, and he is with We Each Belong is his.
Really?
Yeah. Do you know him?
Well, I've heard of the brand.
He's great.
Yeah.
He's a community activist. He provides and trains people on healing circles, really just teaches tools, and kind of has this community of people that are really lifting each other up. And
is it a work in progress right now, or is it out already?
So it happened. Yeah. So Twan Jones is an artist in Chicago, and he and Imani have Mason Mogul Consulting. I wanted to make sure I got everyone's name right before I came on here. And they did a fashion show with a couple of artists from Chicago and a couple of designers from Chicago. Barbara Bates was a designer. She's a big designer here. And when he asked me, I was like, oh my gosh, this is one of those decisions that I just wanted to explore and do. I've always wanted to do that, and I never had the opportunity. So we used fabric that people didn't want anymore.
Oh, wow.
He gave me a bunch of those. Had them in my studio, just painted whatever.
So this is before it's in its final form, like merch wise, and it's just fabric.
Yeah.
And
so we did it that way.
What was your impression on first time meeting him?
We met for the first time on a video call.
Okay.
And we had a week. And by a week, I mean 4 days to get this
What?
done. It was a very short amount of time. There was a lot of moving parts happening, but he was so excited, and we talked. We had never talked before, right? We had never met.
Yeah.
We aligned. He saw my fabrics, and some of the fabrics were intentional, and some of them were just me throwing paint and kind of seeing what's going on. Like my son took a hot paint and put it all over when I wasn't around.
So when you say fabric, is this like fabric or like canvas, or is it like the Dickie stuff, like previous clothes?
No, like fabric, like not structured, just
interesting.
like a cloth.
And how does one come across that? Is that just social media? Like how does that?
We got it from a group that I cannot remember their name. I could look it up. I didn't do that much research. That's on me. I should have looked it up. Because I did look up where he got it from in the process. Because
I'm sure you were wondering. It's like, this is kind of out of left field.
And I looked, and I had the answer. And now I don't. I'll find out. I could probably look on my phone right now, but it's a reach. His family's from South Korea, and his parents immigrated here, and they live in Baltimore. We were in Baltimore the same weekend. I was obviously there for Billie Eilish. She was there visiting family, but we were laughing because I'm like, what plane were you on? We both took a Southwest flight. We were on 2 different flights.
Wow.
So we talked, and he was like, I just got back from Baltimore. There's this expectation versus reality with not only like a mother-son relationship, but then being a son of immigrant parents and like living your own life, and then also like honoring what they want for you.
Yeah. So wait, you had that dialogue with him?
Mm-hmm.
I see.
So this is on the phone when we're talking, and I had really been feeling in the last year this just primal feeling of speaking for my maternal ancestors.
Okay.
Obviously, I'm not from South Korea. I'm Irish Catholic, born and raised Chicago. But my family, both sides, 100% Irish.
Okay.
My great-grandparents were from Ireland, but then, respectively, they all married 100% Irish people.
Okay.
And the Irish, especially the Irish Catholics, they're women for a long time. In my opinion, I'm not speaking for all of them, I feel like you had to just protect and take it on the chin and just kind of be the glue regardless of the chaos and just take it.
Yeah.
Like you didn't have a lot of options as a woman for a long time. I know.
Like motherhood was your path.
Motherhood, I mean, like you couldn't get a credit card until the 70s too. There's so many things that I'm so lucky to be able to. So and
elaborate on your primal, feeling to revisit this.
Well, I'm the oldest daughter. I am going through a divorce. I am really not doing anything traditional as like my family and the women before them kind of took that path of ride or die, like ride or die. It doesn't matter how bad it got. And it was always honored. And I think we're honoring the wrong kind of strength. I want to see women be honored and empowered by standing up for themselves and still holding the family together, but having more accountability for the other people in their world. It's not just like we're the shield for everybody else.
Yeah.
So when I paint, I use a lot of words in mine. I try to do it so you might think you know what I'm talking about, but it's open for interpretation.
Yeah. I
had a painting that said, I remember wondering what you were going to look like. And when I wrote that, I was thinking about my son, but I had a couple people reach out to me and just tell me what it spoke to with them. And it was completely different.
Are you, and I'm guessing you're cool with that? It's just like, it's, despite it not being what your original intentions were.
I love it.
Yeah.
It offers me new perspective. It offers a great new conversation. So I feel like I say a lot of things and I stand for a lot of things and I do a lot of things that doesn't always get approval from my family and other people probably watching me, but it's authentic to who I am. I'm not someone who hurts. I always raise people up. I'm always operating from a how can we be better? But with that, like, you have to get loud sometimes. And for me, I don't get loud, like, vocally. I'm just going to paint it and you're going to see it. So I had a piece that I painted that said, you love me just to leave me so you can miss me. And he took it from a perspective of his mom. I hope it's okay that I'm talking about this.
That's full circle moment.
We made a full... This was what our collaboration was about. It was about ancestry and paying on honoring the spirit of your ancestors. And I actually have the sweatshirt in the car. I should have brought it.
Oh, wow.
It says, "You will not die," with these beautiful flowers on it that honor basically immortality. Like, I should have looked up the flower name. I'm learning a lot. But another phrase that came in full circle was, I did a jacket for my friend Sarah. She thrifted it, had flowers on it. She's like, I just want you to spray paint one of your phrases on it, but didn't really give me any context. And I was sitting in my garden. My grandma ended up coming over and I bought her house. And so her garden is crazy. And I am disappointing her wildly by not taking care of it how she wants. I'm like, Grandma, I have like 8 jobs and a kid. I don't know what you want. But
no shit.
The flowers right in front that I really loved were called forget-me-nots.
Oh, wow. That's where that came from?
Yeah. And I went to my studio the next day and I'm like, oh my God, that's it. So I spray
That's the name of the flower?
I spray painted forget-me-not. I gave it to her and she goes, this is so wild. Her partner at the time, his grandmother who had passed, those were her favorite flowers. And she had been feeling like his grandma was like coming to her more. Yeah. And so it was just, so he added forget-me-not then on the sweatshirt. So it says, you will not die. And on the very bottom, in the front, it's like the mirror version of it. You forget-me-not. And then on the back, it says it. So he's telling me what he's seeing in this fabric. I have another one where it was just this like brown, orangey fabric. I don't even know what it was. These fabrics were a trip to paint on. One of them just wouldn't take the paint. And I was like,
sure. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah. I just kept trying and it eventually worked out.
Did he share what type of merch it was going to be? When it was in fabric form? Like,
I mean, his visions of what it was going to be.
Like, is it going to be a shirt, a hoodie, a jacket?
Yeah. Well, it turned out a different way. Okay. But we're going to continue to work together. Because of our time constraint, he couldn't really get the ideas out that he wanted. But I was like, we should really... It's
really interesting. Like, do you find yourself operating better under procrastination?
Yeah.
Under a little bit of amount of stress?
Yes. I need a deadline.
Deadlines.
I need a deadline or I'll just kill it. For commissions, I say 3 months.
Okay.
And sometimes it teeters.
And do you find yourself doing your best work within the last couple weeks?
Mm-hmm. Or I just finish it right away. And I'm like, okay, that's it.
Wow.
I'm on a commission right now though that I'm
pulling teeth.
I don't. Yeah.
I wonder like if there are things that you do that can evoke inspiration or a sense of flow.
Yeah, traveling helps me. friends.
Walking the dog. Walking
around. We're going to veer a little. I saw the Georgia O'Keeffe exhibit at the Art Institute. And I always knew of her, obviously, but more about her later years in life. I went in knowing I wanted to see it, but like didn't know why. I went in there and I was like, she lived, on the 17th floor of a hotel. And that's where she painted. Mm-hmm. She used to walk around the neighborhood and take pictures of nature. And this is like all things that I do. And I was like, this is kind of crazy. I know other people do that, but like the hotel thing is very unique. And then she moved to New Mexico, and that's when I feel like most people are aware of her.
And how did you come across that? That was just like put on a wall?
The information
her
that I
process,
just shared. Yeah. It was all like she had little quotes on the wall in between some of her paintings, and she was never, I think what I read, I hope I get this right, is she was working on florals, or this could be flipped, and then like went to landscapes. And it's always interesting as a painter steering from what was working and trying a new approach or a new thing you're going to paint, new idea.
Right. And
I love watching when it works out. But I believe somebody saw one of her works and they like put it out there, and then it got recognition. I don't think she was the one who was like, oh, look at this. Like somebody else did.
Why is it usually like it takes a significant amount of time, typically after the artist has passed, to gain some level of recognition?
It's so stupid.
It's not cool until you're dead. Like what?
I'm always like, buy from living artists. I respect, there's something to be said and learn from all of that. Like Georgia O'Keeffe died in 1986. So her whole career was in a time where she probably had to work 18 times harder. I know her husband was an art curator. And another thing I read on the walls, or maybe one of my friends actually did research on her, and he was like, see that hotel, the name on the hotel, that's her husband's name. And it was like, damn, a diss at him. I don't know if he didn't like believe in the piece, or if he didn't think that should be in a certain show, and she just like, that was her voice. That was her voice.
Really?
Of standing up for herself. So art is like, can be and is, I think, such like a feminist and like powerful way to show and say what you're feeling, what you're seeing, how you're experiencing life.
Yeah.
Everyone has it better, everyone has it worse, right? Like you could find all ends of the spectrum.
Have you gotten to the point where you're not dependent on external validation despite it feeling good?
No.
That's honest.
No, I think I will always need a little bit. I wish I was one of those artists who's just like in a basement or in their studio and just painting, and someone came and picked up their work and they never went to a show and they just were wildly successful.
Is the external validation for your soul, or as a means to bring about financial merit?
Financial merit.
Okay.
Because it's my business.
Yeah.
If it was painting for I feel my art is still very true to me. Mm-hmm. And people will tell me they don't like some of my pieces, and I don't care. Yeah. So I don't need it all the time. But if today we were talking about, I said, oh my God, the story I posted of us has almost 100 and it's been like 30 minutes. You're like, I don't try to figure out the algorithm anymore. And same. Yeah. So I have let go of some external validations with the business, but realistically, like, to have this be a business, people need to buy your art. And I'd love to be like, that's not how it works.
Or to be so in demand that you can, just not care, not give a fuck anymore.
Totally.
Right.
And I think there's a couple artists I think of who I know, I don't know, but I feel that they just paint or create.
But where are they on their journey?
They're there.
They're there.
They're there.
And so then that begs the question, like, how do you cultivate that level of demand?
So I I'm self-taught, and
Yeah.
it's been interesting navigating the fine art world not being an art student.
Okay.
There's definitely self-taught artists who are incredible, or we know of them. I just am blanking on like names I want to bring up.
You know, one thing you're doing, I actually talked about this yesterday, in the sense of it's stemming, this stems from wanting external validation. And how can we create a source of external validation? Well, you create something of value. Mm-hmm. And so in high school, I was a huge loner, such a weird word, but like in the sense of I didn't have a solid friend group.
Yeah.
And creating this podcast created a magnet for people to get pulled in. Mm-hmm. And it almost excused me from taking the initiative. And so I wonder if similarly, and it could be for different reasons, but creating galleries for yourself, or cultivating a space for other creators to come and be uplifted, it ultimately will come around back to you.
Yeah.
But I wonder if you felt like anything like that. It's like, I feel powerless sometimes, like when I'm not getting the validation that I know I deserve. Mm-hmm. And so you reclaim some of that by, when given the power to help showcase other people.
Yes.
And in turn, indirectly, just you're initiating conversations.
I think for you and I, excuse me as I speak for us, but as artists, I do believe we are storytellers, and we have some of our best work come from community engagement, mm-hmm. whether that be other artists, whether that be just day-to-day experiences. That's why I could never be an artist that doesn't see the light of day and doesn't go to shows. I think that's totally fine, people who take that route.
That's how Michelangelo was.
Yeah, for me, I need community, and it's not for external validation as much as it's for storytelling and getting another perspective of life. I keep saying and I'm just hearing it. Self-awareness. So yeah, I think it's such a fine line, but I'm the art curator for the TED Talks in Chicago.
Wow. And
that came about because I saw a ad looking for artists last year, mm-hmm. and I was like, why not? This is crazy. What? TED Talks are like looking for artists? So there was
a different curator, or TED itself? Okay.
So it was actually Kelly, who is the attendee experience director. She's one of the co-directors of it. And her husband, and then Dustin. Dustin is the director.
Sure.
So I went. I had no expectations. It changed my life. The people I met, the conversations I had a piece there that said "came for answers, left with more questions."
Yeah, people love that one.
People loved it. I made that in my garage because I was in between traveling, and I just wanted to see what came out from my experiences, and who knew that would end up at a TED Talk event, who knew that would invoke such incredible conversations with people, scientists.
What was your expectation going to your first TED show?
None.
No expectations?
No, because I had no idea what I signed up for. I knew what TED Talks were as far as they were going to be educational.
That's my expectation.
So yeah.
Or like listening to a speaker.
Yeah, as a attendee.
Yeah.
Yes. As an artist, what?
Right.
I've never heard of artists or art galleries at a TED Talk.
Were there any speakers?
Yeah. So this is new. This is a new concept for TED itself. And Chicago is really taking it to the bank, because Chicago is an incredible
it's
city
underutilized
with artists.
Yeah.
I mean, I have my list of artists that I want to bring is so long, but I still want to put out open calls because I know I'm not seeing everybody, so I want to be fair. But I was telling the director and the co-directors, I was like, you guys, this city is crazy talented.
Yeah.
We could do so many different mediums depending on the space, how we present it. This was the first year we did digital art.
Right.
So all that to say, I did it. It was amazing. I texted her the next day. Thank you for the opportunity. Wow. I needed that. I didn't even know I needed that.
You're so good about the follow-up.
Always so good about the follow-up. It's the hairstylist in me. Thank you so much. But it's authentic. I loved her.
Yeah.
I loved her. That was the first time I met her in person, was at the show.
What was your interaction with her at the show? How long? Like 10 minutes? That's
Not
it?
even.
Okay. Wow.
But we had talked on the phone.
Okay.
And you know when you just meet somebody, their energy is just,
kindred.
You know it.
Yeah.
She is one of those girls that it's like, I'll support anything. She shows up for people. She puts people on the map. She is incredible. I love her so much. I'm so grateful to have a female friend like that and someone who I work with so closely. It's so easy to support the TED team in Chicago.
Yeah.
So we recently got named a legacy chapter, which is the top 1% of TED Talks in the world, which means we'll have more.
And how is that measured? Is that measured by engagement or attendance or
I believe
the conversations that come from it?
Or all of it. But they are interested in us because of the arts program.
Wow. High praise.
I mean, it's me and Kelly, but because she did it last year and then I did it this year. But we had 2 events this year. One was the design one we did with Canon Design, which really lifted up interior designers, architects.
Canon, like the camera company Canon?
Oh, God. I don't think so.
No?
I think it's a design company here in Chicago for sure. And if you guys are the camera company, oh my God. I'm so sorry, but I don't think so. I thought that though when I first.
Yeah.
But everything's different.
So when you're put in a position to curate a list of artists and designers, were you given some criteria to like some boundaries to stay within?
No.
Were there some metrics they were looking for? And you know, you being as self-aware as you are, you're already thinking ahead as to how can this person bring the level of engagement to this TED event that I'm looking for. Now, that would be a cherry on top, a byproduct, a side effect of your primary goal, which is to put on this artist or designer and give them a platform that they deserve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they didn't give me anything.
Wow.
But I knew I wanted to put men, women, you know, people from all backgrounds. Yeah. People who, some of the biggest not complaints, that sounds like.
Criticisms?
Yeah, or just, I guess, maybe not criticisms feedback, for sure for general city, is that it's so hard to get to even some of these galleries or events for people who don't have cars, artists who don't have cars. Like, it's just opportunities for certain artists who live in certain areas. It's very hard to get the opportunities, to get the work there, to be put on the map. I've just learned so much. I think when I did the Navy Pier show, I can't remember which artist was telling me that, but she was like, I have to take like 3 buses just to get over here. So to get all my art, it's just a whole journey. And I wanted to make sure that in the future, I'm like really making sure that I'm listening to people telling me what artists I should look into. Where are they from? Because in my neighborhood where the ambassador is, they love art. They're all art collectors, but there's really no events that happen in that specific Gold Coast neighborhood. They want it, but it doesn't happen. So one of my big goals is to bridge the gap. Yeah. To get artists in there that maybe they won't leave their neighborhood, but they want the art. Let me bring them to, let me facilitate a way.
So like utilizing what, Ambassador as a gallery?
Yeah.
Yeah. Why
Definitely. I'm looking at you. No, I'm just kidding. We talk about it all the time. Every time they see me come in, they're like, we know you have ideas.
So
I'm like,
what's the solution to those that need to take 3 buses? Is it, because I know you've rented U-Haul trucks before for yourself.
If this is my event and I'm going to do something and this is something that I want to do, I would take initiative. I would help facilitate that because I think it's very important. And it's something that I think I'm so grateful I have a car. So if I can help, I'm going to do it. Tuan was amazing with this last event, with the fashion event. He was driving and dropping off things everywhere. So it's very much in the artist community to help and provide when we can. Everyone's so supportive here.
Because I'm like this when I go into a gallery or art institute, is for those that find themselves there that are not fluent in art and maybe the artists in general, how do you create a space to facilitate deeper dialogue about the work that's being done, to go deeper than just the visual?
It's so hard. But that's why I wanted to get involved with TED and bring more artists to that conversation group.
Right? Like, how do you just not fly through a gallery?
You can't.
I know it's individual, but
even as an artist, I've flown through
how can
galleries.
you try to incite like this person who has known to just float through a gallery,
you have to
pause
be
and
there as an artist.
Okay.
Physically be there. Unless you have a presence that's so heavy and people who are such fans that they're just talking about it and they know what they're saying, but how often?
Yeah.
So for me, one of the biggest, I had an amazing experience at TED, and that's why, really quick to wrap that up, I said I had a great time. Let me know how to be a day of volunteer.
Damn.
That's what I went in with. And she's like, do you want to be the art curator? I was like, yes.
And you did, yeah, wow, that's wild.
Of course. So I took it so seriously. I mean, from the jump.
It was a volunteer position.
It's a volunteer position.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I believe. And when I bring it to the artists, and we don't get paid, but we have money to give to the artists that we bring on.
Okay.
We just find it really important to pay our artists.
Sure.
So that's what I tell them. I'm like, I don't know how many conversations you've been able to have with people about your art in the way that you'd like to have it.
It's a good way to propose.
Because it is what it is. Like you said, some people go to art galleries to be seen. Some people go to see the art. Some people walk in, they thought they love it, they hate it, they leave, they don't know why. There's just so many scenarios. Art is subjective.
Yeah.
But if you get the right group of people with the right intentions, you're going to find it. And so I had almost every artist tell me what an incredible experience they had at this fall one we just did. And I picked people for this one so the first of the design summit, I only had 3 artists. Well, 4. 3 physical artists and 1 digital group artist. And it was wonderful. There was probably 300 people at that one. That was at the Merchandise Mart.
Max capacity?
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
And so, because it was a hybrid with Canon design, so it was all very structured toward, like I said, architecture and which is still rad.
Yeah.
I had no idea how influential design was just in day-to-day life and how it would change how you think, how you move. It's something I think I've always been taught.
You've taken the architecture boat tour, right?
Oh, yeah, a million times. Every time someone's in town, I'm like, you know what? You guys want to sit down and see the city? Let's go. Sponsor us. No,
it's the best, yeah.
So, I think I just lost my track.
Just like the opportunity to share about your work.
Yeah, and so they all seemed to have, what they told me is they had a great takeaway. I had one of the photographers I had is an Adobe partner, and he has, Toby Shinobi is his name. He has a ton of followers on Instagram, but we sat down before and he goes, I feel like because I have a lot of followers and I have these partnerships that people think I'm always doing
dope shit,
the best.
Yeah.
And he's like, I'm like anybody else where it's like there's lulls and sometimes you aren't sure and then opportunities come. It's having the faith that you're going to continue. And then I had one of my personal favorite artists in Chicago, David Ellis. He goes by eWorks. Raspy Riviera, I'll just name them all. Eva Carlini. Who else did we have? Twan Jones. Adrian Stein was digital, and Walea Zue was also digital. And that was the first time, like I said, we brought digital art in. The Harris Theater had a new huge screen. It was like 9 feet by
That's within
6
Merchandise Mart?
feet. No, I'm sorry. This is in the Harris Theater. This was for our fall big event. So this one we had, I think, 1,300 people.
1,300 people?
Yeah.
Because I was going to ask, like, is there a limit? Like, is there a sweet spot as to how do you maximize engagement with the guest and the artist?
We have meetings every week. The other teams have, the amount of meetings we have is so much because we are so detail oriented to making sure people walk away with an experience, whether that be conversational. We have activations in between speakers. So not only do you have physical art and digital art, but there's performers, there's dancers. It's just, I've never really experienced anything like a TED Talk Chicago event.
Yeah.
And even if when I wasn't working with them, I felt the same way. But all of these artists I picked for this one were all artists that I feel like are leaders in the community in Chicago. They've been in the industry. Their names people know. And then there's also people that I think deserve to be elevated. I mean, it was very hard to stop at the number I had. I wish I could. I mean, Callie, we're like, how much money do we have left? How many more artists can we bring on?
So that was your bottleneck? Okay.
Because we want to be able to pay them.
Yeah.
And there's only so much space, so you have to be mindful of that. But I already know, I don't know who I'm picking next year, but I already have a pool of names, and I'm sure it'll continue to grow. The goal is to continue to grow the arts program.
So, I mean, with this experience, though, like, why couldn't you just do a pop-up with other artists?
With under the TED name?
No, not under the it doesn't have to be under the TED name, but you have this experience of curating.
I definitely could. I want to.
Now it's just like where, right? It could be there. It could be anywhere.
It could be anywhere. And it's something I really enjoyed curating. For this specific one, I gave them what I felt like ideally would fit well in the space as far as size goes. And I let them pick what they wanted. But if I curated a show, it would have probably a theme.
I wonder if there's a space that is either underutilized or cares deeply about the artist community that would be willing, because it's expensive, but would be willing to host a pop-up. And I don't know. And then, as guests come in to pay, maybe you can reimburse that to the artist. I'm not sure, but what the logistical model might be. But I think a good place to start is the ambassador, as far as most realistic.
I have so many ideas of where I want to do a creative artist or just creative dinner party, like small party of 10. I've talked about it with you, like co-hosting with somebody who also has...
Jen was talking about a Thanksgiving, like a Friendsgiving.
Jen, of course. I feel like your community of friends that now I'm in, because you've introduced me, the amount of people that we collectively could bring together is incredible. I love Jen. She's become such a friend of mine. And you knew it. You were like, you must meet her. I
told Justine this the other day. It was such an interesting feeling going to that happy hour. But to get a text or something like, hey, we're running late. I'm like, oh, they're together.
What a theme for me. Yeah, she had such an experience getting to my hotel that day. She got her Uber driver got pulled over, so we were real late for many reasons. And then we met friends of yours outside of the happy hour, and we all walked there together. But yeah, everyone I've met through you and Justine are like some of my favorite people.
Well, so. it was a reflection on how it almost is like, why are you hanging out without me? That envy, but then it's like, wait,
we're coming.
But isn't that cool though? It's like it's cool to see. And big shout out to Jason. We'll never forget Jason.
We love Jason.
We miss him in the city.
Is so great. He wanted a piece of mind when I was at Good Roots. I had this. Now I do a couple of them. Those paintings of mine that are like squares.
Yeah.
I said like again, but it is like squares because they're not always squares, so that makes sense. He loved that piece. He never wanted to, or he wanted to buy it, and I think somebody bought it before him.
Oh.
And so a year and a half later, I took out some of these smaller canvases I had, and I just was doing it. And I sent him a picture, and I, not trying to like push it, but I was just like, you inspired me to, because he had messaged me and was like, I still really regret not buying that piece.
Well, damn.
So I was like, maybe I should make some more of those. For me, it's just like my language. It's just a meditation movement when I'm painting. I'll take whatever is on my brush and I'll make designs.
Yeah.
And I made it, and he was like, I want to buy it. So I made 5 more, and I sold all of them. I'm so crazy because that's one of those external validations I didn't even see coming.
Yeah.
People's
or it's not
taste
forced.
Of what I make. It really, I've learned to just make what I'm feeling.
Right.
And if it doesn't land, whatever. And if it does,
so I guess like how many pieces do you have chilling?
So many. You've seen my studio.
I gotta hear you say it.
And my garage. You see my house. My house is full. And I should either. I don't want to paint over some of them.
Well, imagine when you do host this dinner at the Ambassador.
Yeah.
It reminds me of when a restaurant invites you to the kitchen.
Yes, exactly.
And they make it to your studio. And you've had several friends over to your studio, but it's I guess like after that dinner, like after having gone through an intimate experience, getting to see even another peek behind the curtain just elevates that experience to the next level.
I mean, yeah, I've been actually trying to be more intentional of having artists in the studio painting with me. I have other artists I really still want to get in there. It's just hard right now with my schedule with my kid, and sometimes when I'm there I have to take meetings, or I want to be present, and I want it to be a like little capsule of whatever energy exchange is happening. So I had eWorks actually was the last artist I had in who painted. I think Eva Carlini actually was the last one I had. Both TED artists that I showed. It's just so interesting what comes out. Watching eWorks paint, it was like, he just has these ideas and he just goes. And his skill set, he paints every day. It's just, I've watched him evolve over the last couple of years. And it's been incredible to see not only his skill set, but everything just come to life in this. Have you seen his work before?
Maybe once when you started sharing it with Ted.
So I had a piece that I didn't love, and I just told him, what would you do? And he just went.
Your own piece that you didn't love?
And so we have 2 pieces that we actually made.
Oh, that's
and
cool.
They're incredible. And I posted one on my story, but I want to put them on my grid. And
it's got to be such an elevated, like a warmer feeling to get validation from another artist.
Yeah.
Especially
one that you love.
Speak a similar language.
Yeah. Dwight White is a Chicago artist, and he was the first artist I ever had in my studio. And I looked up to him so much. He's brilliant at marketing.
Were you nervous at first?
So nervous. Couldn't stop talking. Literally had to tell him, like, I'm going to shut up for a minute, because I know it's too much right now. And he's so kind. And I was telling him all my ideas. This was the very beginning of me at the Ambassador.
Okay.
And then I just got to put him in the first ever show I curated with Ted at the Design Summit. And it was just this really cool moment of... Yeah,
giving back and full circle.
Yeah, and I love just him as a human too. And so for him to have those conversations with the right kind of people, I'm mindful of a lot of these people in these rooms are heavy hitters in Chicago. And so to put heavy hitters, business, money, scientists with artists, you're going to get epic results usually, or the takeaways are going to shift something in both lines. I sat next to a scientist from Northwestern, and she's working on, she teaches, but her coach, the president, the chair, God, I'm so bad at academia because I didn't go to college, but
you're on the ball.
One of our speakers is a scientist at Northwestern, and he's leading a whole team on making AI more energy efficient, and then also creating AI to have more of a human emotional, not like really empathy? Response, but awareness.
Yeah.
And so when I put him in a circle with artists, the artists are like, so do you think you could mimic like depression, happiness? What about if you're on mushrooms? What about this, and this? And this guy's like, oh my God.
I wonder if
they're really good questions.
I wonder if it could teach humans how to work through emotions if you see AI work through it.
Yeah. AI definitely needs to be more energy efficient. It's crazy bad for the environment.
Really?
Crazy bad.
I haven't heard that.
Oh God, it's so bad. It's like detrimental to...
Similar to crypto? I feel like crypto is pretty draining too.
It's just at this rate, it's impossible to keep up how we've been using. So that's why they're working on creating it more.
I got to revisit David Allen.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. There's a lot to that guy.
I love David Allen. I don't know him personally, but his work is incredible.
Yeah.
where he was last employed is where my brain went right away.
Yeah,
I have some
right,
things to say that I won't say.
Sure. No, I get the sense that he's kind of regaining control.
Yes, and that was so empowering for me to see an artist reclaim that.
Yeah.
Because that had to be an interesting situation. So, and he's not the only one that I know who's been in an interesting situation. We're being very mysterious right now, and we must stay mysterious for now. But yeah, I would love to bring in different mediums, sculpture artists. I want to do murals with TED Talk backing it, having the artists do it.
Would you ever have an artist like actually perform?
Tuan live painted.
He live painted? Because at some point, does it become more of a performance than or can the artist like shut the audience out and
very specific to the person?
Yeah.
I think mine would be a performance. I'm like, start singing.
Yeah. But like, if that was at the forefront of your mind, are you actually pouring out like what you're supposed to?
Yeah.
What you want to?
I'm not good at that.
Or are you doing it knowing that someone's looking at you doing it? And
I think you have to be it's like I'm so bad at recording me painting because in my head I'm like, is my body
takes away
weird
from the process
right now? Not in a hyper.
Yeah. It's almost, but
if I put it on the internet. Am I appropriate to be on the internet? I have to be so mindful.
I mean, and others that kill it though, doing that.
Definitely.
Right?
Well, Eworks and Tuan and Raspy have all live painted for events. And I watch them and I'm like, amazing. And it's true to them. They are. And
are they making something novel? So like Justine and I in Italy, we were in Venice, took a boat to Murano, and it's like known for glass blowing, and we saw this performance, and I wonder how many different vases and little glass dolphins that he's made over and over again. So at some point, is it just another iteration, which is fine if that's what you want to do, or is it like a novel?
This people I'm thinking of, the three that I named, it's very much what they would create in the studio.
Wow.
Which is so cool to witness that they're able to do that. Yeah. I don't know why I go into show mode. I think it's because I wanted to be a performer when I was young.
Oh, no, but that's natural though.
Yeah, so for me, for the TED Talks, I didn't have any art there. I felt like I showed last year.
You were the curator.
And I was the curator.
You didn't want to take away from...
Yeah, I wanted to be the curator.
Yeah.
And some people thought that was interesting.
It's very generous of you.
Yeah, I was also just like, trust me, they'll have my Instagram by the end of the conversation,
because that's what I mean by it'll come around.
Yeah, it'll come around. And I do, like we were saying, I do think it's important to take a step back, use whatever you've been able to like manifest for yourself as far as audience and platform, and bring in other people to push them out a little bit more. That's how I've gotten a lot of my opportunities, is from other artists or people who I met who felt generous enough to introduce me to someone or invite me somewhere, and it's led to all these things. So it's very important to me to make sure I do that.
Well, it's very interesting. It's like, as someone might follow the artist, I wonder at some point after a certain amount of iterations, they're going to start following the curator.
Definitely.
Right? It's like MK has a resume of, has a history of putting on great experiences. Like, here's another one.
Yeah.
Let's go.
I would love that. I mean, I am that. I am doing that. I should say that. I have two friends, and I feel bad because I didn't say... So Adrian was a digital artist, but Hayes, so Zach Hall and Adrian Stein, are Hayes, and they started as the digital artists for our first event, the design one, and now they do stage design for TED. Okay. So now they're on
what does that
one
mean?
Of our
What's
teams.
Stage design?
They design how the stage looks physically. They pick
what's on this stage.
Well, this one was a little at the Harris Theater. Yeah. It's a little.
Where is? I don't even know where the Harris Theater is.
Oh God, it's
is it in Chicago?
There is a journey.
It's a drive.
It's right by Millennium Park.
Oh, really?
It's like the building. Oh, what is that? It's the street that you turn right on. I cannot believe it's not coming to me right now. This is nuts. But where you like go and you can go straight and down, or you can go up.
Oh, Wacker, right around there, right by Wildberry Cafe.
Yep, right across the street.
Rosebud.
Yes, exactly.
That's Randolph. Okay,
Randolph.
Oh, interesting.
It's just, that's the top. There's no floor 3 at the Harris Theater.
Huh.
Isn't that interesting? Floor 2.5 on the elevator.
Okay.
What?
So what went on the stage?
The ADD is strong in this conversation. I love that you can follow me.
It's noteworthy.
Me and Eva Carlini will have these conversations where we sit down and we'll hit 16 subjects in 5 minutes and follow each other the whole time. And I'm just like, there are not many people, you're one of them, who can do that. Can you repeat the question when you're done?
What went on the stage that they were designing?
Oh, yeah. So this one, I mean, they design stages for Summer Smash, for huge.
So when you say stage, like there's like an LED like a background or backdrop, or
very different.
Oh.
There's very different avenues of stage design. So for TED, because it was at the Harris Theater, we're nonprofit, so we use what we're given or donated. This one was more fabric material, lighting, making the visuals a little more interactive. When Jay Ivey came up and did his performance, they had a blue light on him from the side, and his shadow and outline of him was casted on the wall, and it made him look like 50 feet tall. And it was so subtle.
Yeah.
Oh, the words he was saying, it was definitely bigger than him. He's speaking for, he's an incredible artist and an incredible human. But it was crazy how just that one light alone with the blue hue, all the artists that I sat by, that was the thing that they were all like, oh my gosh, look at that. This is crazy. Joe Esquivel, who's an incredible art curator, art direction, creative director, everything. He's worked with so many incredible musicians, artists. He was there, and he was one of the first people who was like, you guys look at this blue light. And
this is this Hayes doing it in live, like as it's happening?
No, Hayes basically set up the stage They had the blueprints of the stage and figured out what we had and then how to utilize it.
Yeah.
I know as we continue to grow, we'll get more budget and we'll be able to do more things. But on the opposite end, just to give like more credit, what they do with Future Gallery and with Joe is that for Summer Smash, for an example, Chief Keef performed for the first time in Chicago, and I believe like 10 years or 15 years this summer. His stage was nuts. My friend Ashley Wolf was in junkyards looking for cars and tires and fences, and just when you're creating a stage for a performance, sometimes that's the ask. It's crazy what my producer friends do for the job.
Oh.
Sometimes one time she sent me a video of her with like a U-Haul of just rocks. And she had to clean all of them. I was like, this is it's just putting pieces together with someone's vision and executing it. And yeah, they had to move the car on the stage the day of the performance. It was supposed to be one place and another. So the answer clearly varies from the TED Talks to Summer Smash. It's very different. But Hayes is also just an immersive art group too. They've worked with Wonder Museum and do immersive art. Oh my God, immersive art, period. They've worked with Lululemon. They did a really cool one. They have a really cool project coming up in Kansas City, which is like the biggest they've ever done. So it's cool working then with artists like them who have been in the scene for a decade and have all these different entities that they do. They don't just do that. You know, Adrian's an incredible painter and digital artist and does all of these other things. And Zach's a creative.
I wonder how that happened. Like, I wonder if you land in this adjacent modality to create a source of income.
Yeah,
so you can kind of create this. Your painting as keep it pure in a way.
Yeah, that's what a lot of my friends. It's been interesting now. 2 years later, I feel like I have a whole new group of friends that I've been able to watch how they all do different things. Some of them are painters, some of them, like I'm telling you, are producers, creative directors. And some of them have consistent income. Yeah. Still in the arts. Not always exactly what they want to do, but still in the arts. And then it's cool to see when they get the opportunity to just create for themselves and more of it being pure. And I think with artists that are doing more stage design, like specific events, obviously the money is during that appointed time. So you have to be savvy with how you're making money if you're an artist and creative. We're painters, and not to say we're always selling, but it's kind of on our own time. It's not necessarily like one event and
do you think about do you have this desire to create predictable income?
Yeah, definitely. Because I have a son. And that's why. I think if I didn't have him, I think everyone wants stability to an extent. And money stability is such a gift. It's not often that artists have it. And so...
Yeah. What's a realistic way to generate predictable income without sacrificing the time that you need to produce this work?
Right now, prints. That's something I've been looking into more. I just don't know what paintings I want to create prints out of. I did the Honey series. I had like 4 or 5 prints. I missed the mark, in my opinion. I didn't do the right marketing. I should have had those prints when I was rolling out the series, so that way they
ready to
go.
But
I did it later.
Sure.
So I learned.
What about, I mean, is it worth, I know it's very expensive to go to these like sometimes farmers markets or just neighborhood kind of little festivals. It's like thousands of dollars sometimes to have a tent there, to be a vendor there, right? And is that worth your time? How do you get in front of like walking people? Right, yeah.
For me, no. Because it's not, I could be wrong. Maybe I do it one year, I meet somebody and it's crazy. My art studio's at a hotel. Like the amount of people that I meet just existing there is crazy.
Okay.
So I do have an edge as far as that goes, where I feel like between my social media, the hotel, opportunities I get, I'm constantly showing.
What do you mean? So like people actually request to come meet you in the studio, or dialogue is created after those 2 gorgeous pieces in the main hall?
All of the above. Yeah, I even have pumpkins in the lobby right now with my language on them. And I told the front desk, I was like, I'm not going to heavy market my name. My name is on them. Yeah. But I said, if someone comes up and asks them about them, just get their email address and I'll email them. But
leave a few cards at the front desk.
Avenue. Yeah, opportunity I have. Like so many people don't have that.
Well, do you remember a time when you were seeking residency?
Yeah. This residency really fell into my lap. It's all universe, I swear, or God, whatever you want to say. It's just Bree Smith, who I met from Eric Sawatowski. He followed me on Instagram, told her about me. She was running the program at the time, and she was moving to LA at the end of the week, and basically was like, could you come in? And do you want this residency? And it was like a snowstorm, and I was like, I will be there. And I was there, and we talked, we vibed, and that's how I got it. It was like a Hail Mary, basically. Yeah. She said she was looking to fill the spot, and then she moved, and then they didn't have anyone after me. So I sat down with sales, management, corporate.
Trying to create this like mutual win-win relationship.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And with corporate and business, obviously I have to respect them as a business. You know, it's not my business.
But you also let them know that you're a business as well, and you're very business savvy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I bring a lot of collectors there. I bring a lot of people there. I've had a lot of people stay there. My joke with the GM right now is just, if I'm in the elevator with someone, we will get off the elevator and be best friends. Not always.
That's great.
I'm not annoying, but those are magic elevators. I swear I'm going to write a book about it one day. It's elevators to me. It's like this quick 3-minute
and I'm sure either Reed or Chewy just takes that to the next level.
Oh yeah, my son is such a trip. We were talking the legacy capsules. I really want Reed to have.
That'd be awesome.
A conversation with me. He is. Sometimes he's only 5, so I don't want to like ask him these probing questions. But sometimes I do. But the other day I was like, "Do you think you had a past life?" Oh, and that's why you're asking me all these crazy informative like awareness questions. I'm having a blank right now of like a specific thing he asked. Oh, here's a good one. He's like, so dinosaurs are extinct, right? And I was like, yeah. So they died. Yes. So does that mean dinosaurs are in heaven? And now I'm like, yeah. So he's like, so when I die and I go to heaven, I can hang out with dinosaurs. And I was like, yeah, why not? You know? No one's ever asked me that. It's like 6 a.m., but sure, we can hang out with dinosaurs.
Is there a line that you don't want, that you wouldn't cross, as far as when a white lie turns into a legitimate lie?
It's funny because we're talking about lying and joking right now.
Wow.
Because my family's very sarcastic, and he's very sensitive, but he likes to tell jokes. So I told him that a lie is when you know the truth and you say something else. And a joke is when you're in a conversation with someone making jokes already, and you can immediately just be like, I'm just kidding.
Gotcha.
You have that awareness, because I don't want him to lie and be like, just kidding. You know? I mean, you can.
How many times have conversations with Reed, or any child for that matter, led to discovering a novel way to look at life?
All the time. This is going to sound crazy, but he's just such a natural creative and artist. Since he could hold something in his hand, he's been painting. Yeah. And I did a photo shoot with Amber Sita. She's an incredible photographer, and she was also an artist in residence before me. Her and Raspy Riviera were. That's actually how I met them. So Amber came in and she did a photo shoot of Reed and I painting in my studio, which is my favorite, because it's just like these little moments that are on film.
I'm glad you cherished them.
Yeah, and they're only she only had 35 or 40 photos. And she's like, I've never seen somebody, like a kid this age, paint with such intention. He knows what he's doing. And I was like, oh, he knows. And we had this talk one day where he was like, I hate everything I'm making. And I was like, me too. And he goes, but I love everything you make. And I was like, well, I love everything you make.
Oh.
And he was like, well, then why do you think you're bad? I'm like, well, why do you think you're bad? I think when it's your own art, sometimes it's hard to be appreciative of it, because it's like, for him and I can say, I think it's whatever experience we're having is what we're putting on the canvas.
Yeah. And
sometimes we just don't like what it looks like. We're not classically or formally trained. We're not out here painting realistic paintings.
Yes. And there's that like question of, how does something gain mass appeal? Mm-hmm. Like, where does that have to come from? You know, like what makes something, and because at that point there's this level of objectivity rather than subjectivity.
Right. Well, did you know there's like kids on the internet who have like 200,000 followers are selling paintings for like $100,000. Good for them. You know, I mean, I don't know.
Really?
Yeah. Because I know he's
paintings
my kid.
Or NFTs?
Paintings. Physical paintings.
I guess does it matter? No.
And it's abstract. It's like very Pollock-y and lots of movement. It's cool. There's something pure about a kid making it.
So if you were to analyze that, like, what do you think is this the thing that is converting? Like, what are they doing that's helping them convert?
I just think it's divine. I think that kid was like the chosen one
of
the algorithm.
Who has or is it the novel idea that this kid is creating?
It's the novel idea. Right. And that's why I think Reed would be excellent at it, but it's like, I don't want to exploit the dream or the vision. And I actually watched a reel of one of the kids' moms who was like, the minute he doesn't want to paint, he doesn't have to paint,
100%.
Which was cool. But even on my social media, if I put a picture up of Reed, I will once in a while of his whole face, but a lot of the times I block out his eyes or you don't see his face. And I don't know if I'm comfortable with putting him out there like that right now.
Yeah.
But I think, and I know he's mine, but like, there is something to it, this kid. I don't know. It's made me appreciate and understand my
So if you were to
skill set,
if you were to go even like we go deeper into like, how does something garner mass appeal? Like, do we seek those things out?
I think it has to be influence, like community power, like friends.
Transcends the art.
If somebody sees it and they think it's the best thing ever and they're telling everybody, and then a brand gets a hold of it, and all of a sudden it's catching this wave of relevance, and on top of it, if it speaks to you in a new way, or if it's like
that at its core should be all that matters, but it's not. It's so much more than that.
Yeah. It's like the algorithm we were saying, I really think that it's destiny just for some people. You can work really hard.
It's saying things that are in your head that most people are thinking about that aren't saying.
Yeah. As far as consumers wanting to resonate and vibe with a piece of art, 100%. My phrases catch a lot of attention. And I also equally have a lot of people who don't like when I write on my paintings. You know, I have both. And I resonate personally when I see a statement or a piece that is saying something that I would like to say, and they've done it in a way that's like, wow.
And I wonder if you can
creative.
Evoke the statement without the statement.
I mean, that's the goal, yeah.
Right?
I feel like my abstract, I just sold a piece that I made in 2021.
Wow.
And it was made during one of the darkest periods in my life, and it's basically all black with like a little bit of white fading up at the top. And then at the time I was doing 3 marks were on all my paintings. That was kind of like my signature without my signature. And it's called When the Party's Over, after the Billie Eilish song. And you know, one of the lyrics in that song is, quiet when I'm coming home and I'm all alone. I could lie and say I like it like that. And it was a painting I made when I started to realize how alone and isolated I felt in the version of my life I was in. I wasn't painting full time yet. I was still doing hair in the salon. I was a new mom. My relationship was not doing well. And it was that moment where I was like, okay, I need to change everything. Like, this is going to take everything I have. But I can't, this will kill me if I stay stagnant like this. So I didn't have that painting out for a very long time. And I started posting it in the last year, and the response I got from people with no context was crazy. And I ended up, a collector of mine saw it, and her daughter really wanted it. And what they do is they ask all of their art collectors, and they have all the artists send in the stories with the pieces. And it was one of those moments where I was like, I know they feel it because it spoke to them. I don't want to necessarily tell them exactly.
Yeah, or is it because you want to see if they feel it too?
I want to say it without saying it, like we're saying. I want them to feel it. Yeah, so yes. And I do want to be transparent. I think it's very important as an artist to tell your story. There's a lot of my story that I don't feel comfortable sharing quite yet because of legalities and timing and life. Sure. So that can be on our next episode. But my paintings and what I write, if you pay attention to it, are pretty telling to what I'm going through. I just won't say it right now, you know? Yeah. So I did write. What I told her was, in this life, finding moments of happiness, it's ever fleeting. So you really have to be aware and acknowledge those moments of good and gratitude and happy.
Yeah. Well, I wonder, and probably more difficult in that very moment, but understanding that happy moments are fleeting
just
also mean the opposite is fleeting.
Exactly. Stoicism has been very heavy in my rotation lately, and how everything's temporary. When Reed was really little, I was not sleeping, and I was so tired, and I was in this breakaway from my past life, moving to this new life. I was running on all cylinders, and I was just like, this is temporary. This is temporary. I'm finally coming out of fight mode a little bit more every day, but that was just, I brought that piece up because it just was one of those pieces that I really never thought would see the light of day. I didn't really want to talk about it. I wanted to always maybe keep it, but I got to a point where I was like, I got to let this piece go. If somebody wants this piece, I have to honor that came out, and I have to let it go. So I thought about doing like a very dark version of the story of what actually happened in my life, how that was such a pivotal.
And isn't that interesting, of like, you can just tell any narrative you want.
Yeah. I know, and I felt like I said the narrative, but like the lighter version of it, the Diet Coke of it, because And I don't know, maybe one day I'll send him a random letter and like really, not a random letter, but just send him a letter and give him the full story. But I love the air of them owning it in their own story. Because I don't want that piece to be reflecting this negative. I don't want that to be a negative piece for them.
I mean, it is what it is. I mean, but now imagine how hollow it would feel if someone just saw it for visual appeal.
People have that piece, yeah.
And how appreciative you can be if someone saw a more accurate idea of what you were going for.
I know. It is nicer.
Isn't that the foundation of this community?
That's the thing. That's why I feel I feel so guilty that I felt like I couldn't be so transparent. But because of where I'm at in my life right now, it's like if this was in 6 months, I probably would have maybe wrote more.
Going back to like how recognition doesn't come around until you're dead. Imagine, do you think about that? Of like, I wonder which one of my pieces are gonna
Reed, you better give some great speeches at museums.
Going for timelessness. Like which one would
wait, Derek,
transcend the test of time?
It takes time to be timeless is a quote that we had a spoken word artist at one of the TED Talks, Derek Christensen. He said that. Oh. And own your Pantone. There were a couple things that he said. This piece he performed was incredible. Just about your own awareness, about your own purpose, and how you can be outside of the box and still live this incredible life, even if you're like half a crayon. It's a beautiful thing.
Crayon.
It was called Broken Crayons is the piece name. Out of context. I know I just hit you with all this information with no context. But back to the question of being a living artist or being appreciative as a dead artist. What can you do?
I guess nothing.
I'm not trying to die early.
or plan for it. Do you, the thought is the beginning, and then, I mean, does that shape how you think about the work that you're doing?
No,
not really, right? Mm-hmm. I guess not.
I think more of my legacy as my son, and my art as a product of my experience. Mm-hmm. When I became a mom, I really took it seriously that I was raising a man in this world, and I really wanted to make sure empathy and understanding and responsibility is at the forefront of like all of the things I teach him. And then with that, he watches me as an artist, and I think he sees me more clearer than I think. And because I have this son, I feel like my art will live longer because my story will continue. He knows he is me. He is me. He is some of his father, but he is a lot of me. And I have to just hope that as my artistic career evolves, I continue to just be more open, and I just create these pieces that can stand the test of time, that can tell a story of our time. That's what I want to do. It's maybe a little bit harder with abstract, but some of my favorite pieces in the Modern Wing at the Art Institute are these huge Japanese abstract art pieces of just this movement and this layer. And I may not have an exact idea of like what it was, but I could feel the energy exchange in that. And some of those pieces, the pieces I love, are from the 50s too. So I don't know what people will take away from my art, right? I don't have control of that. So what I just try to do is just try to be as clear as I can with what I'm experiencing.
So you take like a slice of your life and try to impart that energy into the work of art, and then relay that to the audience. And
I have no control over the audience either. I don't even know if they're seeing it,
Yeah.
But the more I meet people, the more I show my work in different places, the more I'm on the radar.
What if you did? Really what if you like had just videos, Instagram reels of like, this is what I was feeling with this piece, or like
you are good at that. You've told me to do voiceovers, and that's correct, and I should. The video reels I put up recently are just very candid conversations of me in the studio, which to me shows my personality and like how I think about things, which I think is important because sometimes on social media, I personally feel like I might come across as like, I don't know, more mysterious, stoic and mysterious, and like really I'm I got a million ideas. I'm very sarcastic. I'm happy to be proven wrong. I'll always have the conversation. I don't know. I just want people to see me more as a friend and human, so I'm relatable. Mm-hmm. So when they look at my art, it's not this thing that is such in a far off land.
Nebulous.
Yeah. I want them to be like, oh, she is relatable and she's making this art. And now I can see that maybe it inspires them to create something. Mm-hmm. I've also been into Rick Rubin. Who isn't, but
yeah. The creative act.
I have been trying to get more clear with the direction of my art, how I want to be remembered, what projects I want to get into. I had a friend, another artist, bring me that book, and I read it. I thought it was amazing. I just really appreciate how he looks at the creative act and how he works with all these different artists and how he gets them activated. To really, bring out some of their best selves, and then with that, their best work.
Yeah. Despite the genre. He will say himself he has no really big technical skills outside of knowing how to get people to their deepest self and then be okay with sharing that. Imagine applying that to like Kim Jong-un.
I know.
Or, I
did not expect you to say that. I said, my response immediately was this, like, I know, but then I was like, wait, what did you just say?
So when you shared about how you admired his ability to activate and bring about the best of these artists.
I see where you're going.
Well, I mean, it's like you're essentially an empathetic people person at your core, and it's like apply that to world leaders and how much an hour-long dialogue with world leaders
we need Rick Rubin to sit down.
Could bring some healing.
Why haven't we been saying this? Somebody get Rick in the room with some politician world leaders.
He has a podcast.
I know, I listened to it. It's so good. Well, it made me feel more empowered I do feel like I am able to do that with people. Okay. Maybe not always with physical artists, but in conversations and you're the same.
I think people usually leave energized.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah. Not drained. Love that. Cool. Yeah, so after I read it, though, it started making me feel like, you know what? I really want to start working with artists and bring their creative visions more to life. I don't know what that means yet. I just know that that's something I want to do. So here comes the story. Come on. So I was thinking about this, and I'm on Instagram one day, and they should hire me at this point. No, I'm just kidding. And one of my friends, Cody, was posting that he was at Chuck E. Cheese. It was like 9 a.m. on a Sunday, but his Instagram story was this visual of Chucky with these like psychedelic moving visuals in the back, because that's like what they play. I don't know if you've been to Chuck E. Cheese in a while. It's been a minute. But it's a trip. Yeah. So I message him and I'm like, he's one of the owners of House Calls, which is a house music collective. They have they have area code. They have a lot of different business genres, but they're amazing. I don't know if people out there, if you have not been to a House Calls party, definitely go. The safest, most fun space and humans I've ever experienced in like the nightlife scene, if you will.
Okay.
So all that to being said, I'm like, I know why I'm going to Chuck E. Cheese later, but what are you doing there? And he's like, oh, it's my niece's birthday, blah, blah, blah. So I said, he had just put out a song called 1996, and I was like, you should use that visual for one of your sets one day to that song, because that's a trip. Like, it really resonated with me. And he was like, LOL. And I was like, I guess I'm your creative director now. And we just kind of like left it at that. And then 4 days later, he hit me up and he's like, hey, I've been thinking, and I think you'd actually be really good creative director for, he goes by Monty Kiddo is his DJ name, for my project, Monty Kiddo. And I said, this is something that I've really wanted to do. So let's have coffee. So we sat down 2 hours. I had only met him really through dancing at House Calls parties. And he was always so nice. Obviously, I said I always felt safe there, which then makes you feel like you can be more vulnerable and open up. But it was always like, what's up? What's up? That's it. Yeah. We never really sat down and talked. We're very aligned. And he's a business brain and an incredible creative and has his yeses and his nos. And so it just has made it easier then to figure out
when he knows what he wants. Yeah.
How we want to do it.
Cool.
So we had a meeting last week. It was like 3 hours. We got coffee. Next time I'm going to suggest we get snacks as well, because at the end of it, I'm like, oh my gosh.
It's dinner time.
It's dinner time. It was crazy. So we had Pinterest stuff. We both had our own ideas of what we wanted. And he had just opened up at Northerly Island for John's Summit that Saturday, I believe. And so I was able to sit with his friends, his coworkers, his business partners. They all talked to me about him. They told me what they saw for him. They told me some ideas they had, and it was cool to get to know him then through other people's lenses. And a lot of these people are working with the best DJs and musicians in the world. So when they are speaking about another musician, I'm listening.
Yeah.
And I want to hear, I was like, you have an incredible support system, and he knows it. And so we had that meeting fresh off that performance, because I was like, so what did you like? What didn't you like? I want to understand you as a human, you as a business, you in the crowd. What
it's very
was
cool.
that like?
It's almost like a more aligned version of a manager in a way.
Well, and he has 2 managers. So I told him, I'm trying not to take up, but for me as a creative, I know that's not my job, but I do feel responsible for making sure I take into account how you're feeling when you're up there and what you wish you would have done differently. Because I don't know how many people are asking those questions. He was like, a lot of people say you did a good job. Same with art shows. A lot of people are like, yeah, it was amazing.
Yeah.
You don't get many constructive criticism conversations, and those are very important to growth. And so we had our Pinterest things up, because I had obviously taken notes. During his set, I was literally on my phone.
Really?
Just
wow.
like, okay, this is an idea. This is an idea. Because when you're at Northerly Island, that stage is so big and the visuals are different. You have so many more options that I'm like, we're planning for these stages. This is what we're manifesting. And so I say all this because I do believe that some things are just like aligned in a point when we're going through each other's Pinterest, and all of a sudden I'm like seeing a little bit of anime, seeing a little bit of music, and I'm like, have you ever heard of Cowboy Bebop?
Oh.
And it just reminds me of the aesthetic and the visuals and the color grading that you're kind of gravitating towards. And I pulled it up, and the next 5 photos were Cowboy Bebop. And I was going to a big band Cowboy Bebop soundtracked show that night.
Wow.
And it was wild. I was just like, this is so crazy. So we aren't going to do that exactly, not to burst the bubble, but it was crazy that we just aligned so well.
Very cool.
And it's going to just make everything so much easier, hopefully, as we continue, because it's when you are a creative and you meet another creative who's excited. So
and as creative director, you're giving ideas, you're bouncing ideas.
Yeah, collectively
is there
bouncing.
Is there an execution aspect to it?
Definitely. So we're planning a show, which we're working out the details. You will be the first to know. You guys will be the first to know. But we want to make it an experience. We want his shows to be an experience. And so we are thinking outside of the box, and it makes it easier and harder, because especially with DJs, you're at the mercy of the venue, and not every venue, like Smart Bar is so dark in a basement vibe. Northerly Island is like an outdoor venue with huge screens. So it's just, how can we continue the energy of Monty Kiddo in all these spaces? What are things we can consistently bring to the table? And we look at other businesses, musicians that you can identify by something, and we don't want to mimic, copy. We don't want to do something that's already been done.
I'm sure you have too, seen DJs pop up in random times and days, locations. There was one at the area that juts out of North Avenue. It was 10 a.m, and this DJ just popped up there.
No way.
And there were people, you know what I'm talking about, with the view of the Hancock from North Avenue.
Yes.
And the area where a lot of people, where I propose, where many people, do proposal sessions and engagement sessions. That area. And he was beyond the posts that you have to walk around. He was at the very end of that. So that was one thing that comes up. Or Jim Graziano from JP Graziano. He's had DJs pop up there.
House Calls just did one at Portillo's.
Yeah. Oh, I have seen. I don't know if I saw it through you then. I don't know because I saw that as well.
Yeah. So everyone's pushing the envelope. So how do you stand out in a world where everybody's pushing the envelope?
There's food at JP's already. So if
right, and Portillo's, it's such a name
and Portillo's,
too.
Yeah.
JP's though, it's all, they're both such Chicago brands, and you cannot go wrong with those. And those names are a household.
I would hit him up. He's always down to collab.
JP, what's up, dude? I keep looking at the camera. This is like The Office for me. The performer side's really coming out. But yeah, so then Rick Rubin, creative director, all these things. It's been rad for me as an artist myself to have this other outlet to explore ideas now with a team. So now I'm talking to someone else. I'm always in the studio by myself.
Well, it's not like you have to like switch modalities. You can kind of like just be adjacent.
Yeah. It's been so nice to like
you're not wearing the artist hat.
Mm-hmm. And I'm able to listen, let it land, and I've been able to push and get more ideas. And some of the ideas I come up with, I'm like, wow.
Well,
like I can't believe.
Wow, like they're novel. Wow, or like, and is that because of a different environment that you're in?
Yeah, I mean, I've music was my first love and introduction into the creative world. All my friends were in bands. I would go on tours with my friends in bands. I was in music videos. Like I would be at a venue every weekend. And so, but when I was doing that, the marketing and all that it was the early days of social media. So it was more like the label and like the physical, like merch is still like the number one thing for musicians to make money and streams, but mostly merch. And so
what about shows? When you get to that level, is it shows then?
Yeah, you can get a show, but you got to cut it. You have to give cuts to all these other people too, where merch is so
really. I wouldn't have thought that.
Oh yeah,
I would have thought
like the promoter
selling out a show would be your bread and butter.
You're paying your team too. No, so it's other
merch.
So. And then, specific to now I'm learning more. And, this is one of the things I told Cody. I'm like, house calls is really my only awareness to the house music, DJ. There's Redline has raves, Half Evil. Do you know that clothing company? They're rad. They're Chicago based.
What if you did a set on the CTA? I don't know.
I know. Like these boiler room sets, they have them in elevators.
New York subway stuff going on all the time.
They do them in kitchens. I want to do with him, without giving away too much, because I don't want to tell everybody what we're doing until we do it. But he's a great DJ. He really can understand like songs at a really like basic rhythmic tonal, all of the things. I know level, all DJs who are good do right. Like I feel like I'm repeating myself, but there is just, it's kind of what we talk about with the people who go viral. It's just this extra air of knowing that like this is gonna stick.
Empathy.
I mean, he's very empathetic, but it's more just this like knowing. It's like they know that there's no stopping this. Well,
then I wonder how many of his tracks didn't hit that thought would hit.
Definitely. And a lot of it also then you're thinking about labels. You have to go through all these different levels of things before things get put out. So there's like a couple singles that he's waiting on for labels to help put out. And then, that helps the awareness and the brand. And nothing is ever simple or linear in the creative world.
Well, I wonder if there's like a film or another project that could use his tracks.
True. Yeah. That's a great idea.
How do these pop songs go viral? It's just like, how do you apply it to a potential viral Instagram reel?
Well, then it's hard too with viral music, because if it's not from the original content creator, they're not getting anything.
No, but that's not the point. But it's so catchy that despite not getting the credit you deserve,
that's how it works though.
It leads to so many other things though.
Him and I just talked about that, how vocal tracks and sampling other people's songs just put you into other pools of listeners. And like John Summit had an interview, and that's what he was saying, that he
Yeah.
He appreciated sampling songs, but then other DJs using his work in their sets. So it's just like this never ending.
I don't know the name of his account, but this guy would just mash two really popular songs from opposite ends of the spectrum, like hip hop and EDM, and just mash them.
I think that's so cool.
Or there's this wedding DJ that does it too.
Really?
He would put like a Harry Potter theme on top of like an EDM set, and the wedding, like, so it's like two perspectives, the DJ perspective and the wedding guest perspective, and then the like when the beat drops, like, and like the Harry Potter theme comes on, the wedding, it's like this interaction between himself, right? And it's like, I know like creating content can be cringy at times, but like it's interesting
for marketing
in general.
It's so that's because you really, in today's day and age, you have to be incredibly talented or well branded and marketing,
or you have a team that doesn't give a fuck, that just like keeps shooting their shot.
Exactly. And so we will see. We have really a lot of cool ideas to push, but I really am enjoying this role that I'm taking, and I've kind of been doing it for all my friends.
I wonder if you will ever like meet an animator. And
anime's nuts. I just kind of got
put some of like a track. Like imagine becoming like the theme song to a show.
Yeah, dude, that would be great. What are the royalties on that? How do you get paid? This is the manager. I'm not a manager, but sometimes I am. I definitely think that's an awareness avenue that's incredible. If you get that opportunity, take it. Unless you have this like avant-garde, want to keep it pure. I definitely know artists that are like, social media is the death of all pure art. And it's like, fine, that's totally great. But that's not the reality for my world. And you can exist like that, and I'll exist like this. And that's just how it's always going to be. Old school, new school.
There can be both.
Yeah. I don't know if anything's pure. I think that's beep. I think art is pure, but for example, when I'm in very hard times of my life and mad because of something that someone did to me or something I witnessed, I get my best work because it's like I'm so activated and I want to say it so much. So I guess for purity in the moment, I was thinking like, oh, it's straight from me, for me, of me, to me. But a lot of my work is of the people, from people, like not always happening to me. I've painted emotional responses. Like my whole Honey series was an emotional response to my cousin Madden losing her firstborn son. She delivered early. He lived 10 days. He passed away. That was just like, and she lived in DC, and so was Richmond. And it was just very hard for me to know how to show up. And I said that to her. We had a whole conversation, and that was the time in my life where I was traveling so much. So I was painting in between when I'd come home. I'd have like 2 or 3 days, and then I'd leave again. And I painted the whole Honey series. And it happened because I was in my art studio, just kind of had this huge piece up, wasn't sure what I was going to do with it. Threw like a Home Depot mixing stick of black paint. It had black paint on it. I threw it at the wall. My friend, who was a long-term hotel guest, he was working on a show called Dark Matter. It's out now. It's a TV show. Did I ever introduce you to my friend who Tim?
I don't know.
He's a stunt actor. Anyway, his room was across the hall from my studio, and he knocked. He's like, "What's up?" I was like, "Come in and tell me what you see." And he's like, "That's Winnie the Pooh," the outline of his profile. And it was like exactly it. The ear. I did not plan that. That was just happening.
And see, it's this story that many people probably don't know
exactly
about the Honey series.
And that's like what I should be doing on my reels.
Yes.
And that's what I'm doing right now. So pay attention. No, but I started painting. I couldn't stop. I was
amazing.
Like, oh my God, Winnie loves Honey. Her and I call each other Honey.
Wow.
That's our nickname for each other. So I was like, I'm going to make a Honey series. It didn't necessarily have to have Winnie the Pooh in it, and not all those pieces. I have no affinity towards Winnie. It's just people.
That's what they noticed.
When you think of Winnie the Pooh, a lot of people think of Honey. Yeah. So it was an easy way for me to reiterate. I have a Honey tattoo right here. We got it together. That was my way of honoring. His name was Walker. Him it's like an immortal honoring of his spirit for me, of just being like, maybe you weren't here long and the situation was crazy, but this is the beautiful thing that came from it. And I invited her out and she came to all the openings and we just had this very healing moment, and I got to use art as a healing agent for that situation. And it didn't like fix anything, if you will, but I feel like when people lose somebody, everybody's really sad in the beginning and they're there for you, but then everyone kind of goes back to normal and they don't necessarily think about it like the person who's grieving is. And I always try to check in a month, 2 months, 3 months, making sure like, you know, I still see you. Like, I know this is still hard. That's okay that it's still hard. But I also wanted to make sure she could have something that wasn't always like negative. Yeah. So when he passed away, her husband saw a bluebird. So they recognized his little spirit as a bluebird. And I have a honey piece where it was like a honey pot, and it just came out. It's like a little bluebird bathing in the honey pot. And that was the piece.
This is after you heard the story from him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because I didn't tell them I was painting this until it was done.
Oh, I see.
And I was like, if they don't give me their blessing, I'm going to have to just never show. And I had one painting that was like 6 feet. And I was just like, I didn't want to ask her until it was done. And I could show her. I wrote something about every single piece.
Wow.
And it was not always about her and her situation. It was like, one was called Meet the Stinger. I had a friend who saw the painting before it was done, and he said, you have to like, meet the stinger before you get to the honey, meaning like you have to be basically on the defense before you get the real version of me sometimes. So it's a way, like a layering system of how I like let people in. Or the honey pot was another one, and that was about people like, what's your honey pot? What is your kryptonite? What is something that maybe makes you feel a little bit too comfortable and it makes you stay complacent? And it's a beautiful piece, but I really wanted to offer more on that series. So yeah, that is did
you feel closure at this point?
Yeah, when I called her and first I showed her the piece I made for Walker, and she loved it, and she gave me her blessing, and so did Steven. And I think she was overwhelmed. I don't think she didn't know I painted all these pieces in between all of these things, and it was such a heavy time for her. I didn't feel like what I was doing was relevant or necessary. I didn't need anything from her at that point. I just wanted to do it, see what happened. And yeah, that was definitely the most emotional series I did. And I'd like to do another like that. I don't want anything terrible to happen for me to be doing it, but
I think we had that theme in the last episode of like, does it take a traumatic experience to be a decent artist?
Yeah, dude, I think so a little bit. I'm not gonna lie, because the next year I have a couple ideas, but the one that keeps coming back, I have one that I really want to do, but I gotta find somewhere that's gonna like let me be loud, and I won't put it up on social media. I want to have the show, and I want to have people come in and have their own assessment, and then once the show is up for like a month, then I'll put it up on social media. But it's going to be more of a shock to the system, and it's not going to be like my normal work. So I want to make sure I do that right. The one I want to do now that's just been kind of happening is Pray for Us Sinners, which is kind of we're all sinners.
Yeah.
I grew up in a very religious family. My father's a deacon. My mom's a therapist. They are heavily involved in the Catholic community. I think it's, they're good people who lead by example in how they walk. They're not the people who like make you feel bad for not doing exactly X, Y, Z. They've grown into that, but they're definitely better versions of people who are into organized religion. So Pray for Us Sinners, it's like, I don't think you have to abide by what other people who are also having a human experience think is right and wrong because someone else told them, because someone else told them, because someone else told them. It's all like whatever I want to be. So for me, I, you know, especially as a woman, especially when I was a hairstylist, especially now as an artist, I feel like people pass judgment a lot. And especially with Instagram being a highlight reel, I really tend to post high moments, and it probably looks like I'm partying all the time or always doing something like without my kid, or, you know, it doesn't always paint me to be one way or the other. And I don't really care. I used to care a lot. I listened to our old episode and it really bothered me 2 years ago. And now I'm like, I don't care. But what I do want people to recognize with this series is you are also human, and what you don't like in somebody else is usually a reflection of something in you. And so what is it?
Right.
And that's like the work I want to do with this series. But Pray for Us Sinners is such, it triggers a lot of...
So is each piece going to be a different sin?
I thought about that.
Ooh.
I had an interesting conversation with the person at New Buffalo Art Gallery. I have a piece there that says Pray for Us Sinners. It was the first one I ever did. 2021 maybe I made this piece. It's a little bit of a nod to Rothko, where it's like this light pink and then this maroony red underneath. So it's like the two tones. And Pray for Us Sinners is in the same color, but it's in oil, so it's lifted from the acrylic base. And there's a lot of Catholics or Christians up there, probably Catholics because it's the Hail Mary. And they resonated with it just purely as a nod to their religion.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah.
And loved it. Period. So there's going to be people who will see this and be like, oh my gosh, this is Hail Mary. How much? Let's go. You know? Let's go. Do whatever you want. But for me as the artist, yeah, I really, you know, Mary for me was the only really female besides Mary Magdalene in the Catholic religion that was talked about. And I was also always kind of like, wait, so she like is the female, like her prayer is just so interesting to me that it's like, pray for our sinners now at the hour of our death. That's the end. And this whole religion is just based on this like reward system of rather like they're getting into heaven and they're getting other people into heaven and they're doing it right. And if you don't do it like this, then your chances are less, blah, blah, blah. And I was just always thinking of like a mother and how they're always like comforting and like, you know, if you mess up, it doesn't mean you're bad forever. It just means that you're human and that you're going to like move on better, like moving forward. But I've met so many women specifically who, if you don't do it how they think you should do it, you're just like the worst person ever and you're like written off. And it's just such an extreme way to view people and live. And how are you going to like convince people? Like they've
never made a mistake?
Yeah. How are you going to convince people that you're now what you view as the right way to exist is the right way when you're just like so mad at everybody all the time? That's crazy. What a waste of time.
Can't imagine that feels good.
Yeah. Like why?
Well,
so,
it distracts you from your own.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Or they're bored.
Yeah.
Like you're not living enough if you're watching me like that. And that's okay. I'm a good time. I'm a great entertainer. You won't be bored. But
quote,
you won't be bored. But I feel like Pray for Us Sinners is just one of those things that for me, especially, that's gonna be one of my next tattoos. I swear, Marky, I'm coming.
I'll get you won't be bored somewhere.
You won't be bored. Never boring is something I always used to say. Never boring. On the last episode, you were like, what would your podcast name be? And I'm like, you're not dead yet. It's just like, I just want people to live and stop worrying. You can definitely have teaching moments and shed awareness in the correct way. If you feel like someone in your close circle is like acting up in a weird way that's going to be detrimental to something in their life, for sure, call them out. I'm not saying like let everybody get away with murder. I'm just saying when it comes to how people choose to show up and live their life, and it's not hurting anyone, and it's not it's just like how they want to express themselves or how they want to exist. It's like, let them, bro. Let them. That's what makes the world so beautiful, is individuality and authenticity. And we should be encouraging that. My son loves painting, so he likes makeup and nail polish. And he's 5, so he's not associating these things with sex.
And as
gender.
adults, they do.
And I can't say who, but somebody, he had nail polish on once, and they took it off of him because they didn't want other people to judge him. I'm like, he's 5. If somebody is judging a 5-year-old for wearing nail polish, that's on them. That's an insecurity deeply rooted into something that they were taught, something they're fear-based of. Don't tell me the world's just a hard place when you do that, when you're making the world a hard place for doing that.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I let him wear whatever he wants. And I teach him that, sometimes your authentic self might bother some people. And you got to be okay with, as long as you're not hurting anyone, with knowing that if that's how you want to show up and that's what makes you happy, then do that. And just know that maybe people won't get it. That's okay. I don't get a lot of things people do, and I'm not over here calling them being like, what's going on?
Who has that time?
That's what I'm saying. There's a lot of boredom out there, I just don't, I want my kid to feel empowered, but also be realistic about the world.
Yeah.
Not kill his creativity or his spirit, but I have to protect him a little bit. I'm his mom, and he's so young. So it's just been an interesting thing to navigate. I come from a very old school way of thinking, and I don't think like that at all. So when I'm making these decisions now for me and my son, I'm going sometimes against what other people think is normal.
Is there any part of you that's surprised by how protective you are? And when I say protective, did you think you'd be as traditional on that scale as you are?
I'm not really traditional at all, though.
When I say, are you surprised by what kind of mother you are?
No.
Oh.
It's weird. I never wanted to be a mom. And then
do you find traits that are more similar to your parents that you thought you would be?
Yeah.
That's what I mean, I guess.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. Both of them. My dad and my mom.
And are you currently embracing it, though?
Yeah. Because it's the great parts of them. Okay. And because it's me. No, but my parents were incredible. I'm so lucky. I had the best, most supportive parents. Now, they're not creatives. And they'll say they're not creatives in any sense. I think they are. They're incredible writers. And they're pillars of their community.
I mean, as a deacon, isn't he giving sermons and speeches?
He's incredible.
And as a therapist,
and therapist
the level
too.
of empathy that one must require.
So my child, as you could probably imagine, and I'm the oldest, so I was the first attempt at everything.
The first iteration.
Yeah. So I think it's been interesting. My sister mothers differently than I do.
Okay.
In a fine way. She has 2 girls. I have 1 boy. It's that in itself is just totally different. But I also am I'm not with his dad. So then that makes our time just even more
precious,
amplified. I really am so intentional about being present with him. This last couple of months, I've been very intentional about not being on my phone as much when I'm with him and really making sure that I'm present in these moments because he's aware. I think a lot of people are like, oh, they're only 5 or 4. This is like when they're building all of their emotional pathways and their responses. And I mean, it'll continue, but they're laying down like a lot of hardwiring right now. And he's already so aware. Sometimes he'll be like, so if I'm outside in front and I'm playing, is somebody gonna steal me? I'm like, no, but I do want you to be aware of if somebody asks you to come in their car and you don't know them, it's a hard no, and you run. Or like one of my favorite, because he's a boy and he loves superheroes. So fighting is very in the culture of little boys and shows, I feel like, are superheroes, not like fighting on the playground. And he does it as a way to like express himself and move energy, and that's great, but I don't want it to be his first thought of when he has a disagreement with somebody, like, I'm gonna fight you.
Sounds like he would do well in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, that's what everybody keeps telling me he should do. And so I'm going to do it now that you said it. Because you're like the 8th person who said it. And I told him, I said, you never throw the punch first. Mm-hmm. You can finish the fight, but we'll talk about that later. But if somebody's being mean to you at school, I told him, and they're just being mean, and you can't catch a break, go a little crazy on them. Just tell them you're their grandpa, you know? Tell them that you're their grandpa and that they're late for dinner and that when you went fishing yesterday, you left all the fish at your mom's house. Just throw some lunatic at them and they won't know what to say and you'll have enough time to get out, you know? I want to shake up the world in that way. And he does.
That's your legacy.
He'll literally be like, someone will say something and be like, you know what? I'm your grandpa. So like, I don't care what you say. He's 5 and he'll just throw nonsense. And I'm like, that's a way better way to diffuse an argument than like calling names and, you know.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
Yeah.
It's just like, I don't know.
But it's great that he's taken that in though. Yeah, he's a trip. He loves Chapel Roan too, so he'll do Pink Pony Club and he'll dance, and then I have a little boxing thing in the middle of the room, and he'll be like, Pink Pony Club, and he just punches it, and then he'll like do a twirl, and I'm like, every morning we have a dance party where we do this, and it's just, and then in the car on the way to school we do the microphones, and then by the time he gets to school he's let out all of that performative energy so he could just be present. Wow.
In class, you know? Because I think a lot of kids don't feel seen and then they act out and they want attention. If he's like on me and I'm on the phone or something, I'll literally look at him and be like, do you need attention right now? Like, what do you need from me? Because I can tell that you're not sure how to say it, but I can feel it. And then he'll say it. You know, I like create a space for him to feel comfortable to share with me.
Yeah.
But I'm also like, he gets grounded at 5 still for like doing stuff that usually it's like, I don't even know why he got grounded one time. I mean, I don't know. He's a really good kid. He doesn't really like push the boundaries too much. If he got grounded, it's because he was like didn't listen to something very serious. But grounding is 10 minutes in his room. Okay. Grounding for me was like 3 months in my room in high school, but that was for grades. So
how would you wrap up this episode?
Oh man, we've covered so much as we do.
Yeah.
Did I go?
Wow. Maybe 2 years is too long.
I think we got to do. Do you need a co-host?
Well, we always catch up here and there, just not recorded.
Yeah, I think the takeaway. You know what? I'm sorry I talk so much because I really wanted to talk both of us about where you because it's been such an amazing thing watching you grow in the last 2 years, not only with this podcast but just as an entrepreneur. You're now a husband. You know, there's just been a lot of big life movements in both of our lives, and it was cool to watch our interview 2 years ago and then me sitting with my coffee this morning really thinking about it.
I gotta put it up on YouTube, but you guys did the podcast at the wedding.
Oh my god,
we got like 40 minutes worth of podcasting.
Was it I remember
you, Jen, John, and
was it John who was like saying the most amazing things? I can't remember his name. Things. Oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, but that was so brilliant. Victor and Justine had a little podcast room where we all got to go in and say well wishes or stories, kind of whatever you wanted to the couple, and it was so rad. And I went in with people who were like said the most profound, amazing things. And I remember when I got to me and Jen were just like, well, we should have gone first, dude. Like, I wasn't really ready for this like I thought I was.
I appreciate how engaged you guys were, because you guys probably had a couple days notice because we had empty seats, people that just bailed last minute or just canceled last minute. And so I appreciate you guys coming through and taking it to the tent, you know, just
dude,
like we're going to have a great time.
It was so much fun. I love you and Justine so much. And it's so awesome to be able to celebrate two people who not only are you two incredible as yourselves and as a couple, but then the people and the community you've built together and how you bring people together. It's just, I've really never experienced it like with you two. It's a different level of knowing each other. And it's because you two take great care and intention of setting up time and space to have conversations and energy exchanges with all these people that you're friends with. And you, even when they talk about you guys, it's like what I'm saying. It's just the most respect, and it's just so easy to be a fan and support you too.
Thank you.
On whatever you do and in your relationship. So that wedding was extra special. My table was a trip.
That was the podcast
That was all
table.
Entrepreneurs. We all basically had questions about. We were having our own podcast session. Basically.
I wish I recorded that.
Yeah, it was so interesting. It was so interesting. That table was
Ryan,
a really
Canoe,
good table.
Dila,
Jason, yeah.
So Jason Chan, as our wedding officiant, we asked him like how you discern wedding guests, like who is worthy to be at your wedding.
Great question.
And he said, are you going to have dinner with these people, after your wedding?
True.
Because you're thinking about people that you feel like you're indebted to, or people that maybe at one point in time you had a great relationship with, and we had those people there too, but it was getting close to like our cap, and it's just like, who do we
It's hard. Irish Catholic family, I had like my family alone took up, I think I had a table of friends at my wedding, and that's it. But that's what I had to do money wise and everything at the time. But yeah, I think now if I were ever to do it again, I don't know. I kind of would. I think I'd elope and then have a dinner party with close friends. Truly, whoever was there supporting you.
Yeah.
And whoever knows you as a couple. One of my rules was like, if they don't know me or they don't know you, they can't come.
Right.
Like, what? That's crazy. Why do you go to a wedding you don't know somebody?
So if we were to manifest one thing, there's so many things to manifest. One thing, what needs to be put in place in order to have this, let's say, 10-person dinner at the Ambassador?
Well, I would like to ideally co-host it with somebody. You're my ideal first co-host. And I say that because I want to bring people or communities together that maybe wouldn't have met. And I think a lot of my artist friends kind of already know each other, and I want to make sure that we are integrating all creative fields, because being a restaurant owner, you have to be creative. It's just different forms of all of it. So I think we would have to sit down and think about what attributes of these people strike us as something that's going to be beneficial for whoever else we invite. Maybe start with like 2 people or 3 people and kind of like evaluate, okay, like these 2 are really into community activation and they're also artists. And then we invite teachers or somebody on a school board or a politician or somebody in a business who has money that they want to contribute to something based in the community. And then art, for me, in my mind, it always activates a higher level of thinking, awareness for any situation. Right. Because you need to have different ways for people to understand one message.
What would that message be?
I really, my hope, especially in this election season and everything so turbulent, it's like at the end of the day, we're all human and we're all living in the same community to an extent. And you can keep doing this big scope of all the problems and all the wins and what you ideally want this like grand scope of humanity to look like. And that's great, but I think it has to start at a community neighborhood level. If your community is thriving and your neighborhood's thriving, when those people go out and adventure on their own and they're going to new communities and new adventures, it's like you have your own little prophets going around talking about what you guys did. And that might activate someone else. So it's starting local, and then hopefully the message is strong enough and the people are strong enough to continue to push this inclusive. I just want it to be inclusive, uplifting. Right. You don't have to agree with each other necessarily. You just have to respect each other. Period. Respect is like...
So is there a common thread or theme that you would like the dialogue to follow? Or is community kind of the bedrock of that? But like, I guess, how do we serve this community?
I guess is, because I think it's too much of a high level way to look at it. I think
through pop-ups or through...
I think conversation, feeling empowered. Inevitably, every time I leave a conversation where I feel empowered, I want to do. I want to go out and do something. So it would have to be conversation with maybe planning an event and having this event to look forward to, so it's not this stagnant energy exchange. It's not like you go to the center and then it's alive for a couple weeks and then it dies. I want it to like continue and grow. So maybe this creative dinner is just this bigger idea of activation, but we start
like a brainstorming.
Yeah.
Are we gonna do like note card prompts?
I think that would be cool. What's rad about you is you're a podcast host among the many hats you wear. And so for you, I love the questions you ask. And then I think me being a hairstylist for so long, I'll ask different questions because I know it'll kind of maybe tap into a different route. But you have been, I was thinking about it today, how you've been doing this now for so long, and you really have to be thinking about your questions, or at least like what you want to try to get out of it. So I think a note card for our dinner would be good. I don't know if everyone I'm going to co-host with would be able to do that.
Because I with the video project, when I help record other people's conversations, I wonder if, and this might be in one of the packages, like if they would like help in cultivating questions. And I know there are other companies that do that like can sell little decks of prompts and questions.
It's very hard to, I think, be fully aware and give answers and have questions.
If I'm not asking, right? So like, how can I help the host ask?
I think that's so good. It's something I don't think a lot of people think about until you're in it. And then you're like, oh my gosh. But because of what we've done, I guess does it work itself out? If people are coming to me because they want help documenting this process, there's got to be a level of curiosity already there. There has to be.
And maybe that's a good place to start, is like having individuals at this dinner that are inquisitive about how they can best show up and serve their community.
I think the artists I know, it's already like hardwired into them. I think because a lot of artists come with, they have something to say. They got something to express. They've experienced something that they feel like they need to let people know. Not all artists, but the ones I don't know. I really have learned a lot about the Chicago art community in the last 2 years. I think that's like one of the biggest. I've met so many people. I've been to so many events. I've watched. I've seen.
Do you feel like at this point in time, do you gravitate more towards people that have a chip on their shoulder and have something to prove, or gravitate more towards people that show up with a mentality of take it or leave it?
That.
Okay.
Everyone's got a chip on their shoulder. You know?
Yeah.
It's just
but how verbal are they about it?
Yeah, if you complain a lot, I'm probably going to not hang out with you too much.
Okay.
I'm okay with like a being mad sesh, venting our sadness. You know, I can do that. I think I think that's necessary to have community in life, because life is hard. But I find myself with the people who always show up and have something negative to say with no solutions. I'm just like, I cannot give you energy like this. Like, what are you doing? What are we doing?
A little draining.
Very draining.
Well, they're just stuck in a narrative.
Not cutesy. Yeah, it's stuck in a narrative. It's a victim mentality. Yeah. It's very easy to do. That's why everyone does it. And I don't want to do that. You know, I didn't come here to just complain. I want there to be awareness. I want there to be activation. I want there to be solution.
Yeah.
And I think if people were more solution-based, that would be great. Right. It's easier said than done always. Life is not that simple, but you can just do little things every day to make whatever you want to do apply and happen.
I felt like we did something similar at our EMT graduation. We hosted 250 people.
That's so rad.
We included the last 3 cohorts, the last 3 EMT classes, and we had 2 guest speakers, one of whom was on the podcast, Dr. Dave Nyack, and he talked about running for politics and losing, and the theme was falling forward.
Ooh, I like that.
Yeah, and at the tail end of the graduation was a career fair. So we, by the way,
that's so cool.
Setting the scene, we're on the 99th floor of the Sears Tower. Yeah.
And it's romantic. I romanticize everything. I don't always mean that in like a love way. I mean it in my life is a movie in my head. Also, I'm just going to grab my phone to update my parking really quick.
Where's your phone? Oh, okay. It
was a 2-hour thing, and Chicago likes to make you... Oh, it's already late. That's okay. It's probably still out there. Sorry, everyone. I'm not trying to disrespect everyone's time, but your girl doesn't want to get parking.
But I had, and last time I was doing a photo shoot with D-Law. As soon, they had a ticket on there, but I was out by 10 minutes after the clock ran out, and the ticket was on the dot, when the clock ran out.
I've already accepted
they were waiting.
that if I have a parking ticket, it is what it is. I didn't think about it until I was sitting here,
but they cap you at 2 hours too, so it's
I know they cap
tough.
you.
Yeah.
Whatever. I've gotten a parking ticket right outside of the hotel, same thing, where it was at 6:00. And I have a great excuse because I was at the bar, which sounds bad, but I was sitting next to this wonderful lady and we were just talking. She's in real estate. We both ordered old fashions. We were vibing. It was a great conversation. And I find out, I was telling her I want to produce a show, and she's like, oh, I'm a real estate agent. I'm on the board for a lot of places around here. Let me know when you want to look and I'll help you find a spot. And I'm like, that's amazing. And she's talking about her 2 daughters. And I'm like, oh, are they creative? She's like, yeah, but I think you might know one of their husbands more because you're an artist. I'm like, oh, who is it? She's like, Chance the Rapper. I was like, yeah.
That's great.
Definitely know him. Actually saw him at an art show. Bianca Pastel, another amazing, one of my favorite Chicago painters. But a lot of music artists and just artists in Chicago support other artists. So you get to meet and experience all of these cool people in a very neutral space where it's not a hierarchy in that sense.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's welcoming. Yeah.
Yeah, Vic Mensa or Chance or people who are more like Joey Purps, when they come to a Chicago show, in my experience, it's not this weird fangirl, fanboy moment. It's just they are artists.
I see.
And that is...
Are they a guest or are they performing?
Honestly, collectors.
Oh, they're collectors.
Yeah,
they've
been doing a lot with Chicago artists. The last... Well, I don't think... I don't know. Chance's... He had a song come out last year and it was so good, and I cannot remember the name of it, but Mia Lee is a Chicago artist, and
it was a collab, right, with they had a video driving on Lakeshore Drive or something.
No, that was that's the most recent one. This one's last year, and he filmed a lot of it overseas, and I am blanking on the name. It's something. And basically he had Mia Lee do the album artwork. She's an incredible Chicago artist, and had rollout for the song with her painting that was on the single there, and just really supported her. And then Vic Mensa, his last album was a portrait painted by a Chicago artist. Oh my gosh, is it
I remember when Vic was sleeping outside to support the homeless.
Yeah that girl, what's her Instagram handle?
What girl?
She has a whole Club 54.
Oh yeah. Where she was. It's under the viaduct over there.
It's right out here. Yeah,
with the partner with the orange tent.
Yes,
project.
Yeah, the Chicago community, especially artists. It's I've seen it so many times that they just are out here to support.
Yeah,
Chicago has a very unique. Anyone I talk to from New York and LA, they're like, you don't get it
grounded.
like you get it here. Yeah, there's not really a hierarchy. It's just this really beautiful awareness of gifts and talents. Now, don't get me wrong. There's assholes everywhere, but I've been so lucky to meet incredible people, really, from blue chip galleries to artist run galleries in Chicago. Incredible. So I'm so grateful that this is where my career is starting and will continue. And I, of course, would like to be more internationally known, but God, to be loved by Chicago and the creative scene is a gift in itself. It's so rad. Yeah. So that's why it's so important. Why I love you and your platform is you elevate all of these creatives and entrepreneurs and people pushing against the grain to do more for their community. And I feel the same way about these artists. And I really do think...
Just paying it back.
Yeah, it would be great to get all these minds together. Truly, your whole happy hour.
Yeah.
That was so incredible. I wanted to do that, but in dinner form.
Yeah. I think about it from time to time. How good the experience was, and what the next iteration might look like.
Now we know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think sky's the limit. I think you and I are friends and have a very like-minded way, because we have a bigger goal, but we don't really necessarily have one vehicle to get there. It's just this like way of living and existing. And I think it just, opportunities then just kind of come to you a little bit more when you show up in different ways in different places, you know? Show up was the name of our last episode, and it's just true though. It's like showing up for people and then showing up for you. That's community. That's life. That's the whole point of life. It's like to love and be loved. I don't care what anyone else says. Everyone wants to be loved.
Yeah.
You know? And so how can we do a better job of that? Anyone who's having a hard time or not in like living right, it's like they didn't have the tools then. So what are you going to do to help them get better instead of complain about it? I don't want to hear you complain about it. I want you to tell me how you would make that situation better, and then maybe do it. You can't always do that for obviously everything. But when it comes to someone in your community or a friend, it's like, how can you show up for them? Or how can you like be the mirror in a gentle way?
Ooh. Yeah.
I try to do. Sometimes it's very exhausting, but it's like...
Yeah. I mean, at what point do you just walk away?
Yeah, I walk away a lot. But I know that sounds contradicting to everything I've been saying, but it's, you do have to...
Protect your peace.
Protect your peace. You can only take people so far, and then they have to do it their own. And then at that point, if it's still not aligning, you just have to like let them go and make new space for whatever positive is going to come in, and just like wish them well. I mean, that's all. I have Godspeed tattooed on my stomach. I got that tattoo the day before our last photo shoot.
You're so wild for that.
I came into the photo shoot with the bandage on, I think, and I was like, I shouldn't take this off, but I'm going to do it. So that's another.
I didn't see you take it. I didn't see it on in the first place.
For one of our.
That's interesting. I know it was super. You can tell it was recent.
Yeah, like when I look at some of those photos, I'm like, it's red because I'm like moving around. I was like praying it wasn't going to bleed.
Oh God.
I always wanted that tattoo, but I was on a walk and I was having a tough day, and I walked past that tattoo shop and I was like, you guys take walk-ins?
Oh, we do.
I called one friend who I knew would say do it. And she did. And then I did it. And it's one of my favorite tattoos. So Godspeed to me is just wish you well. I may not be able to help you anymore. You were an asset. You've changed me in whatever capacity. Everyone does that as you meet people. And then
Godspeed.
Godspeed. See you later. Or not.
So many different potential titles floating on in my head.
Yeah. I don't even know, because we've talked about so much. And I really came into this being like, only going to talk about art.
Nah.
But you know what? Like, because I love painting, but like for me, I will always paint. And it will always be something I'm producing and doing. But this creative director role.
Yeah, how exciting.
Is really aligning with me. I'm so excited. I can't wait. In the next 2 years. No, I'm just kidding. I'll be back in 6 months.
So does that warrant a, like, when you post, does that go on that same channel? Like, or like, yeah. Like you don't have to create a separate channel for this new creative director role.
I was thinking about like how I want to label this myself. I think I'm thinking about it too much, as I do.
Potentially.
And it's like, especially for this project, I am doing it, but I want to produce the ideas first and then say it.
Yeah, 100%.
I want to do it before I talk about it.
Yeah.
And so I'm obviously talking about it right now, but
yeah,
I'm talking about
not the nitty gritty.
Yeah, so you'll see me posting about Monty, and I've been posting a lot of his reels and getting like the cross engagement, and I'll tell people about it. But yeah, I just am trying to figure out, and I think actually at the next meeting I'm going to ask how he would like to, if we're like announcing, everyone wants to do it differently, and it's really not about me. I just want to be someone who can activate
bring out
the
their best
vision
version.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So I don't want it to necessarily be
okay,
like about me. I just want to be the next Rick Rubin. That's what
It's
we can
very.
title
It is interesting though
Just
how impactful something as like Hayes stage design can have an effect on someone's experience. And
it's everything, dude.
You don't go into a show thinking about
No.
that.
Yeah.
So don't diminish like the impact you could possibly have as a creative director.
It's crazy. Yeah. I mean, even Billie Eilish's show, it was a stage in the middle, no wardrobe changes, one holographic screen and a live band, and she sang the whole time. Like, it was an incredible show, talent alone, but how she set up the holographic box, the lasers,
it's
the
only because
lighting.
your peers that you know the amount of effort that probably went into that.
Exactly.
Yeah.
At the end, we were walking outside, and I was standing by where they were loading out, and there was like literally 23 semi trucks of her stage loading out. And I was talking to my cousin. I'm like, this breakdown is crazy. And one of the managers of the arena was standing in earshot. I didn't know that's who he was at the time. And he turned around and he's like, are you in the industry? And I was like, no, but a lot of my friends are, and my mind is exploding right now. Like, what time did they come to set this up? So my brain is always like analyzing.
Well, there's that respect
all of that
because you're familiar with the language.
Yeah, even though I'm not a producer, because all of my best friends are, I've learned so much about it. They're I don't know if I have the organizational skills to.
And I guess that's what I mean when maybe when I told you about Jason's new restaurant, Brock, the waiter, broke down these esoteric terms on the menu into terms that anyone could understand.
I love that.
And so if you can do that with a gallery, someone who's more of a casual onlooker might have this now newfound fond appreciation.
Yeah. I really think,
unless you're going for the super niche, like the epitome of the art collector, right?
Yeah.
It's just like,
it's, I talk about this with my art friends. It's like art should be accessible for everyone because it's art. But then artists need to live and survive. So they need, and it's a business, like above everything else for some people. Some artists literally will just paint to paint and sell for whatever people want to buy it for, and I think that's great. But it's very complicated. It's a complicated existence to be, I think, a full-time artist and putting monetary value.
It reminds me of the time where you shared that you were mounting this big piece in someone's home, right by their stairs, and I can't imagine how much you conveyed before they converted into a purchase, or if they just visually saw it and they felt something. I'm not sure.
Dude, that was a commission.
Commission. Oh, okay.
They had purchased work from a woodworker artist that I knew from high school, and they were looking for a Chicago painter, and he gave them my name. This was the very beginning of my full-time art career. So I hired him as the installation, and he did the framework for this. Wow. It was a 6 feet by 8 foot piece. I asked her the colors she liked. I saw the house. I never want my art to be for the floor or the wall color or the couch, but I do want it to make sense to their taste and who they are. So I kind of got to know the family. I didn't show them anything. That piece, they never saw that until it was literally on their wall.
Yeah.
So that was scary. And the U-Haul I got was too small. And so I had to sit in the back of a dark U-Haul, no lights, in December, holding it from 55 to 94. I was in the back of a U-Haul for 45 minutes.
Because it had to be crooked. It had to be on a diagonal.
If I let it hang, I was scared that it was going to snap. It was so big.
Wow. And
that was my bad. I got the wrong size U-Haul. Lessons learned all around. And we got there, and I was just like, oh my God, thank you for protecting me. Because I was so scared.
Was this in the suburbs? Because I
was in the city.
City? Okay. Wow.
I drove from the suburbs to the city, though, so that's why it was so long. Yeah, I didn't tell anybody about that until it was done.
That's
I was
wild.
like, my dad's going to kill me.
Yeah.
So it was okay, but I will never do that again. But yeah, that... commissions are always crazy because you don't know
that's a lot of trust.
They see it. I dropped off 2 pieces yesterday and she hadn't seen them at all, and I was.
It's beautiful and it's risky in a way.
Very risky.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love a thrill, which we haven't noticed. Like, I'm not into drugs or anything. So for me, it's like being a full-time artist. Yeah. Like, have you ever done a commission for 6 by 8 feet and then not know if they're going to like it? You're going to love me. Like, this is crazy. It is nuts. It's just nuts. Like, yeah, you have to be just a little bit delusional. Because you have to think of things that haven't happened yet and things that people might not believe in and do it anyway. Mm-hmm. That's basically being an artist. We're just manifesting and bringing things into the physical realm. And it's cool. It's an honor. I don't know. I've always been this. It's just my medium's changed so much. My message has always been the same, but the medium's always different. But yeah, I think for us, this episode is about community.
Okay.
I think it's about the influence of art and the people who create the art and the stories that they're carrying and then inevitably creating on the canvas. And like, how do we continue to elevate artists and the community? And then with that, bringing in other adjacent
professionals.
Mm-hmm, exactly. I was trying to think of like the right way to say that. Because really, I know I keep talking about it, but TED Talk really does bring in, there are people from other countries that fly in for it.
Yeah.
And just to hear.
Well, and imagine if they were like, oh yeah, I'm in Chicago for a week.
Yeah.
And then like, want to grab dinner?
Yeah, that's happened. I've become friends with so many people who like don't live here and from the TED Talks because we had a great conversation. And so I really am excited that opportunity presented itself. Now I'm excited that I also get to add in this musical element where I'm going to be in those worlds a little bit more. I'm always in there as an appreciator. Mm-hmm. Music, like I said, is my first love. So I'm always going to concerts. I'm always listening to music. When we put headphones on, I was like, hell yeah. This is like, I feel like me now.
Did we not do it last time?
No, dude, that's really my hair weird. Was perfect.
Oh, you could have.
Victor and I have a rule. I don't know if you remember putting this rule on it, but I am notorious for cutting my bangs the week of our photo shoots, and I am not allowed to cut the bangs anymore because I get neurotic, and every 5 minutes I'm like, how are my bangs looking? And he's just like, stop with the bangs.
Oh, great.
Yeah, like you're so kind. You always tell me. I mean, we're at a point in our professional relationship where if we're shooting and I like look wild, you'll be like, yo, I know this is not how
I appreciate you trying all the things.
I try all the things, but I cut my bangs this morning.
They don't look freshly cut.
Thank you. I did it very lightly, but it was just, bangs are tough because it's like, I was thinking this is so lame, or is it not? I don't know. That cutting your bangs is like life lessons sometimes because it's scary to do because you could just let them grow out and like, you know, have it go back to like what I've looked like at one point in my life. Or I cut them and they could be perfect and amazing or look so bad that I don't want to go outside for a week. But if I don't cut it, I'm succumbing to like a whole different avenue.
Well,
and if I do, I get the opportunity to look amazing.
There's a few life lessons of like, it's just hair.
It's just hair.
Of letting go. Themes of nothing lasts forever.
Right.
You know, whether it's the joy of the bangs or the torture of like, oh my God, they're too short.
The upkeep. Yeah. Or that. I was out once and this guy next to me was like, I always like girls with bangs because they're a little bit crazy. Like, because I'm telling you, people, there must be something energetically around me that's like, do your worst. Say whatever you wanted to say to a human because here I am. I don't know what it is. I don't know. But he said it to me and I'm like, you're not wrong. Like, there's a heavy awareness of girls with bangs. They're either hairstylists or they've had bangs their whole life or they're not scared of change. You got to be committed and bold to have them. It's a whole thing. When I cut my bangs though, my whole life changed and I will stand by that forever. I was in my bathroom. I had just had Reed and I was like, I need a different look. Oh. And I cut my hair. I didn't tell anybody. I went to work and they were like, and it's like, now it's been, I don't even know, 4 years, 5 years. I've had them. This is what I looked like when I was 5.
Oh.
This is my natural hair color, and I had bangs and my hair was long.
Yeah.
So I look at pictures of me when I was a kid, and I'm like, this is exactly.
So what was your hair before?
Bleach blonde. I mean, I was a hairstylist, so I had red hair, purple hair, black hair.
But what about bangs? Was that always there? No bangs.
I always had just like long straight hair, or like it was always long actually.
Okay.
But I have a very small head and an oval face, so sometimes my hair overtakes me. So when I do bangs, I have to make sure that the shape is sitting correct, because if you don't have layers in your bangs and they lay too flat, it makes your face droop.
Okay.
But if you can create layering where there's like a little bit of like a roundness, and then you can seamlessly connect these two sides.
What do you have to do to create that roundness?
Layers. Yeah. But you have to angle it correctly.
The layers naturally lay like that?
Well, here comes the hairstylist to me. If you're laying your hair and you pull it all the way up and you let go, you're going to have really short pieces on the top and really long pieces on the bottom, because think about where the hair travels from where it lives. Yeah. Okay. If you pull it at a 45-degree angle and over directed either way, you're either going to like have shorter layers or longer layers. It's all like math and geometry, and I hate both, but it makes sense for me with art and hair. Like, it's just always made more sense. So
never heard that
layering
before.
Bangs is like,
I see the roundness. Mm-hmm. Wow. I have, this is what I mean. I have a newfound I'm going to be looking for roundness whenever I'm looking at bangs next time.
I usually cut my own hair, and I had my friend cut my hair last time, and I had to coach him through it. And at one point he was like, I don't know if I should take this much off. And I'm like, do it. Like, it's totally fine. I just haven't had it done in a while. That's like what it'll look like. And he did it, and he was just, I think it was like exhilarating and terrifying at the same time.
It's a lot of pressure cutting hairstyles hair.
I know. But I was like, I'm not going to be mad at you because I signed myself up for this. Like, if it is bad, then that is on me, and I will wear my hair curly for 6 months, you know? But yeah, there's a artistic life lessons in literally everything if you look for it. There's meaning in everything if you look for it. That's why I think life is so fun and amazing. I can find meaning in literally everything.
Yeah.
And I have to. It makes life more fun. How boring would it be to just have everything be what they are and not think about it a little bit more?
That's the title. Never bored.
Never bored with MK and Victor. We're talking about everything all at once. All gas, no brakes.
Really?
That could be it too.
Yeah.
I also like that hoodie. That's different.
Thanks.
The other one.
It's on the website.
It is?
Website, yeah.
I love it.
The back. So the back says, "Seek novelty in the mundane."
Ooh. See, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly what I just said in a different way. So can I ask you a business question?
Sure.
For your business, and I know this isn't like your only form of income, but does merch help support this mission the most? Is it people?
It would, but I don't push it and people don't buy it.
Okay. So how do you make money from specifically a podcast?
I don't.
Okay.
I don't. It actually costs me money.
Yeah. I know this whole setup
was an investment. The setup is an investment, and the recurring storage to upkeep this.
Yeah,
you have to pay for storage fees to host your website. To host a website and then host the audio files.
Oh my God, websites are crazy expensive, especially when you have audio files.
So the website isn't like everyone should have a website. If you're...
What do you use?
Wix.
Me too.
Which is super easy.
Which one are you doing? What
do you mean?
Like, you know how there's like basic...
Oh, I don't know.
Not basic.
I don't remember.
Not basic.
Probably not the most basic.
Yeah, because you have to support
if
audio.
If you can do like merchant stuff.
That's what I do.
So audio is different. Audio is through a hosting site called Buzzsprout. So think of Buzzsprout as like a media hub or a distribution center. So they distribute to Apple, to Spotify, to YouTube. Podcast. So like they distribute your audio episode to everywhere.
That's so nice.
So
then you
that can be free if you want to. But with free, there's a limited storage space, and older episodes will be deleted. So there's tiers to it. And at its core, I think the basic paid plan is like 8 or 12, I think, a month.
Okay.
12 a month.
That's not terrible.
And I think you can have, depending on if your average episode is hours to hour and a half, you can probably have 2 episodes per month. with
this is
$12
3 hours,
a month.
so this is 2.
I know.
You guys, he keeps looking at the time.
Well, I want it to be reasonable.
It's so far past reasonable that if you're still listening,
that's the point. It's like
you get a free. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, so I appreciate when friends like want to support. It's I get to consume their tasty beverages, and the guests get to consume their tasty beverages.
I can't wait to try this. It's Remember, right?
It's Remember, for real memories, better rituals. But I don't know. I haven't, like, as far as monetizing podcasts, I'm not sure. Because I don't really want to litter it with ads either.
This podcast is so great though, and you really get on some great.
Mm-hmm. There's
guests.
really, but like it kind of like hurts you in a way if there's no clear agenda.
Shit. I'm talking about our
like
episode.
Pros, every episode. I don't really have an agenda with any episode. So it's
what
like,
I love about it, for me, the agenda and what I think of when I think of your podcast is like you're so easy to sit down with, and you Rick Rubin people.
No, I haven't heard of that.
Like you make it so easy for me to think about myself in a different way.
So you try to be a mirror.
Yes.
Yeah. You're
a great mirror.
Thanks.
Yes. I'm so sorry this episode.
Yeah, that's the point. You're the guest.
I really, really love talking to you.
That's what's attractive about when people ask. They want a way to talk about the stuff they're working on.
Yeah.
Candidly, without doing a one-on-one to a camera.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. This is so much. I will talk to the camera because I'm a performer. But you should see how many outtakes. I know because I've shown you.
I know too, yeah.
And it's just like I get so hypercritical, unfortunately, about sometimes I don't know if people think are on the same wavelength with my humor, because I think maybe it lands and sometimes it doesn't. That's
out of your control.
Yeah,
at
I think
that
I
point.
just have to stop caring.
Yeah.
Which I usually do, but sometimes it creeps in.
Which in the long run is attractive.
Yeah.
Because people can sense when you don't care.
I know.
Or not that you don't care,
right.
but when you're just dancing to your own tune,
Yeah,
it's like,
and you asked me, I don't know if it was on record, but you were like, oh, how come you don't do your singing reels anymore? And I was like, I didn't want people to think I was trying to be a singer. I mean, I am a singer, and I love to sing, but it's I'm not needing to monetize that.
Now imagine if the song that you're singing is in cahoots with the art that you're painting.
I know. It's hilarious what I listen to sometimes when I paint, though. Sometimes I'll leave the raw audio and I'll just do a back-to-back clip of what I'm listening to, and I'm like, this is so hilarious and so true to how I
and
move.
Isn't that all you can strive for?
Mm-hmm. I feel like lately I've been listening to DJ sets.
Okay.
Like James Blake in London's Boiler Rooms. That set is because you don't have to change the song, and it kind of crescendos for you.
Well, that's the whole point of a set, right? They've designed it for you. Yeah.
So that's a newer thing I've been doing. And I've actually was at a show a couple weeks ago, and this one artist, I think he's from New York, he said, but he's LA based. Can't Stop Dot. Great artist. He's in Lefty Out There's crew.
That's the name of him?
Mm-hmm. Can't Stop Dot. He's got really cool geometric abstract, but also the piece I saw that he had at a very serious gallery was it was crazy. It was a painting of him when he was 4, a painting of a picture of him when he was 4 with a shark and there's just a lot of hidden meaning. I've never seen his work presented like that. Lefty did a whole curated show with a lot of street artists and brought it to a fine art gallery. And when I talked to him about that was one of his first times curating, and I was like, so what was your big picture? How did you want to do this? He was like, a lot of these artists are so incredible, but they don't get the recognition from galleries because they're street artists and there's space for them here. And when you looked in that gallery, it was like, yeah, this makes sense. But it took somebody who he's so incredible with his language. He has so many different mediums. He's one of the artists I look up to, Lefty Out There. Incredible. And I love that now he's using his platform to open up more doors for street artists in the fine art world. It's very, not a lot of people do that unless you're like Banksy and, you know, graffiti artists, man, they can throw up a piece in like 7 minutes and it's like 10 feet long. It's crazy, but they are looked at in a different light because it's, I don't know, not something people maybe necessarily understand, or they've been taught that it's a damage to public. When I go to Miami though and I see graffiti everywhere in Wynwood, I'm like, this is sick. I know it's not everybody's dream to like be in a world of art everywhere, but like, what? That's a crazy thing to not want. So yeah, it's just been cool to watch artists be curators.
Like, there is something about art of all mediums that can relay a message that you might have a hard time putting words to. Yeah. Or might be unable at that point to put words to.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly, yeah. I think also as an artist, sometimes it gets hard to see somebody's work and then feel like maybe your message isn't strong enough or your work's not strong enough. And that can get in your
imposter
head.
Syndrome, yeah. Like, am I deep enough?
Yeah, because I love going to shows and supporting, and then, but sometimes on Instagram,
or should it be inspiring?
It should be inspiring.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a comparison game.
We're built to compare,
and it's the thief of joy, and that's so true. And I've been actively trying to rewire.
That's all you can do.
Yeah, and so I'm aware, but I'm human. You know, I don't really go on social media that much and scroll though, because that used to kill me.
What has been helpful in stopping the scrolling?
Having a 5-year-old who's always hungry.
True.
And just, I have all these other roles now.
Yeah.
And so I have to find time to be intentional. So that's really helped me the most. And yeah, just physically then.
I recently stopped using my phone as my alarm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Wow.
It's in the other room.
I do when I don't have to get up early. I mean, I always get up early naturally, but if I have to get up specifically early or not specifically early, I'll put it in the kitchen. I'm always on Do Not Disturb a lot of the time, unless I'm not with my son, because then I feel like every time I hear that outside, I think it's a tow truck getting my car.
Shit, maybe.
I'm like, guys, we were solving the world's problems. So
let's wrap up. If people don't know who you are by now, where can people find you?
I was looking at how long we took. If you guys don't know who I am by now, I don't know what you've been doing for this long. I'm just kidding. I go by, my name is MK O'Donnell Jillick, but I usually, so that's where the MKODJ came from. MK, Mary Kate, O'Donnell, OD, Jillick, J. So if you see MKODJ, that's me. If you see MK Jillick, that's me. On Instagram, my handle is MKODJ, but it's phonetically spelled. Cool. And so let me spell it out for you, everyone. Get a pen and paper. It's EMKAYOHDEEJ. Can you tell how many messages I've left for people in my life? It's like you have to hit different tones for people to resonate.
That would have been a great voicemail,
right? Thank you for calling MKODJ. I'm sorry I couldn't take your phone call right now, but if you just leave your name and message, I'll be happy to call you back. And if you can't leave a message, please follow me on Instagram, EMKAY.
This is going to be your automated message when you have your own gallery one day and people are calling for like a commission or something, and like, this is it.
I'll probably like, sorry, I'm not home right now. I'll just start going. That's what whenever I didn't have a cell phone and I wanted one, I was like, when I get a cell phone, my voicemail is going to be no doubt for sure spiderwebs. That was like always my dream voicemail.
Oh my God.
Still haven't done it.
When I offered to record the last couple's first look / private vows.
Oh, wow.
So because I upgraded my camera stuff, so my old cameras are just chilling. I'm like, what if I put like a wireless mic on the groom and recorded these vows for him?
So good.
But when I watched the video, it picked up a radio signal.
No.
And it picked up no down.
Oh my God. You see
Don't
how
speak. And it's just like, are you kidding me?
the irony is strong. That's so, and that song is about her.
I was
and her
like, why
boyfriend
can't
breaking
fucking
up?
use these?
Oh my gosh.
I mean, they didn't pay me for that, so it would have been a
funny.
bonus. But like, I was really looking forward to overlaying the audio with like a slideshow or something.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
So it's like, yeah.
I love that. I mean, I'm sorry for the groom, but I think that's
Videographers
hilarious.
are professionals in what they do.
That's kind of an art piece, though. You have a groom with a violin playing "Don't Speak" over it. It's just like a music video. I can see it already.
I'm watching the video, and when I saw it for the first time, I'm like, I swear there was no radio when I was like,
that's nuts.
And then I think it's just this like, it picked up a radio frequency.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't know. I thought about doing more podcast work. I just don't.
What do you mean? Like people
like having a podcast.
Yeah. Just
like talking, but I like being your guest. I haven't done any other podcasts since I am consciously curious or deaf.
I think you have a lot to share. I think you have a lot of wisdom, and I think when asked good questions, I think it's just natural for good responses to come out.
But I look at this setup and I'm like, this is the dream, you guys. I wish y'all could see this right now. This guy knows.
This guy knows.
Can they see him in this?
He sleeps here.
Yeah. Camera one.
Yeah.
This is what it's going to be like for me one day, all the time when I'm on TV and everything.
Well,
I'm gonna be like,
after you leave, I have to break this down.
do you want help?
No, what are you going to do? Like,
I can help you break it down.
There's a method to the madness. But I'm saying, like, I get here, 45 minutes early, set up. But
I say that because I was 20 minutes late.
It worked. No, it worked out because I had a guest yesterday. So if I can do back to back, it's like, I don't have to break down every time.
Yeah, you are a man of many hats.
Yeah, well, I live and die by the calendar.
You say that to me because when we plan something, because you know me, I'm always like, yeah, we'll do it, and you're like, get it on the calendar. That's why, like,
because I've fucked up too many times.
Honestly, yeah, me too. But I really do. We do usually one photo shoot a year, and we're getting close to the end. I don't think we've shot this year.
We're due.
Have we?
Are you getting the itch?
Yeah.
Wait, when was the last one?
I think it was last
Cove?
September.
That was no way, really?
I swear, because when we did the ambassador, remember we did 2 shoots the year before. One was for that website.
Was that at that was Ambassador?
Yeah.
So Cove was that long ago?
Cove was last September, Labor Day weekend last year.
Felt like yesterday.
I know. And we've had so many photos that I've been able to.
And then we were at RH for my birthday.
Oh, yeah. We did that
Hardware.
too. But that was like.
Yeah, that was just like
a friend's hang.
That was, yeah.
Where we were like, that was so fun though. But yeah, so we're going to brainstorm on.
You
our
probably
annual...
take up 25% of my portfolio.
I'm like, well, when I talk about you, I'm like, he's my number one shooter and my only podcast that you've ever seen me on and will only see me on.
Such an honor.
But yeah, you're my favorite. I
recommend
see
you to your photos right behind my right shoulder.
Do you say if you guys, when you do anatomy, do you go to my photo?
So you see this Godspeed tattoo?
Here's the story about this lunatic walking down North Avenue, just like, tattoo. That's where I went.
Oh my God.
It was so funny because there was other people who wanted a tattoo at the same time, but I think mine was, I was so sure what I wanted, and it's script.
Yeah.
And I just wanted Old English, so they were like, they picked me. The other 2 had to leave.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, so I was like, sorry. But also, you should have known before you came in here. I was walking on the street and I knew.
They're just like, well, I don't know.
I know. My guy, Marky, who does my big pieces, with him, I'll go in with like an idea and he'll literally draw it up in real time and then tattoo it. But that's what like my bigger...
I'm so serious about the Neverboard. I'm
really?
Yeah, somewhere.
Where is it?
Somewhere. I have no idea where. I don't know. I'll figure it out.
Too many letters for your knuckles.
I love the saying though.
Never bored.
Yeah.
We're never bored because we're always busy. Busy or sleeping.
Yeah, I'm glad we can catch up.
Me too. Especially with mics and headsets and cameras and really good lighting. And this coffee. Can we give a nod to the coffee shop?
Foxglove. Down the street from the studio. Foxglove.
This is the cookie butter latte.
Butter cookie latte.
And I had to be convinced, and I am. I just wanted to say it on the record for the record.
Didn't take too much. But,
not too sugary.
But it's not too sweet.
I did oat milk.
Yeah.
I love it.
Good.
This was great. Thanks for having me.
Hey, you're welcome back anytime.
I will be back. So soon.
You think it'll be 2 years?
No, I think maybe next time we'll have like a subject more so, and then we can like dive.
Well,
but like these once
I
a
literally
year,
asked you a day before, so I
know.
appreciate you. I don't know if you had to move things around, but I appreciate you making the time.
No, you're great. I was just like, yeah, we're gonna do this, and honestly, it was like great timing for me.
And it works out because usually I have to give myself weeks to come up with questions, but because of us, it just,
you were like,
tomorrow
she'll have questions that she'll answer all in the same one. It'll be fine. I'll ask you questions. Yeah. I mean, that is the lovely thing about how we talk to each other. It's just very natural, but because of how we think, I think it's informational and cool.
Yeah.
And our experiences, I think, are different than most people's. So
you usually walk away rejuvenated.
Like, what just happened? Sometimes that's my joke. I'm like, I always want people to leave me being like, what just happened? How am I supposed to feel? I love that you said rejuvenated and energetic. That's so good.
So when I said what?
You felt like energized?
Yeah.
I said rejuvenated was the first thing I said.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
You just don't know sometimes.
That's definitely how I feel after a photo shoot.
Oh, yeah, me too.
Right.
That's when I'm not talking.
No, it's a lot of both. It's a lot of like talking, but moving too.
The first 20 minutes of our photo sessions are always me being like, God, I look a mess, and I'm like sweating. And then I feel like we get into this. When I describe our shoots to people, I'm like, it's a dance.
Yeah.
At this point, how we've learned to work with each other.
Yeah.
I don't always know when you're taking the photos, but I know your cues well enough to know when you see something, and I should like
activate.
Yeah. Find my lines, find the light, whatever. Or you'll tell me.
But that's only because of the amount of time you've already put into that.
Yeah, dude.
Right. Whereas most people, including myself, like lose all control of like, what do I do with my hands? Like, what do I do with my body?
I started with that claw, remember? Like the first photo shoot, you're really like, you gotta like loosen. And it stuck with me because now whenever I'm in a shoot, I'm like, hands are relaxed. If it's on my face, I'm like,
yeah.
You know, like, but I just put up a video and recorded myself moving and found stills. And if I liked the shape, I remembered to do it.
Do you start with shapes or do you go with feelings and then let the shapes take its form depending on the feeling that you're going for?
Are you thinking of Billy when you say that?
No.
How when I was wearing that jersey.
I went to the gallery today and
I really want Billy energy. And you were like, you knew what I want. I wanted like masculine but still
you had your feet wide and this power stance,
body shape. I think my outfits really dictate the shapes because like when I was wearing that dress and I was walking up the stairs, everything was crossed and tight and like I have very long legs, so I have to be aware too of like where the dress is because I don't always want it to be this objectified, super sexy photo. If it is, cool.
Yeah.
I'm not against it, but my goal is, for me, it's like, dude, a lot of those shots from the Cove, specifically the one where I was joking with you and I'm like, let me see if I can get my leg up here and maybe I can dip back.
And you did.
And you caught that.
Yeah.
You caught 4 shots of me getting my foot up, but then I was bending back. People don't know there's a wall behind me because you didn't have that in there. And even the last time I posted and I turned it upside down, the lines were so clear and different. And that, I think, is just the rhythm of our creative relationship. I think there's something to be said. I don't get that with every photographer I work with.
It's an opportunity to be observant. And I try to usually after the moment after I feel like I'm going to stop pressing the shutter is when the subject becomes candid and natural. And I have to remind myself to kind of keep going.
That's why we had 8,000 shots per Cove. And you were literally like, if you could just make sure that...
It's hard because I try to take out all of the blemishes in the shot. And so if I have... It's just a tedious process.
Yeah, dude, you're amazing. I like literally, I know you've been shooting longer than me, but there's this part of me that's like, I grew up with you in front of the camera.
I grew up in it too. The first time we met, that was the first kind of boudoir-esque shoot ever.
You know what? You did tell me that. And I told you, I remember being like, I wouldn't have said yes to this if I wasn't feeling safe and comfortable with you. And
what were our conversations? It was through Jason.
You were literally like, I've always wanted to do this. Would you be comfortable with it? And you're an EMT.
Yeah.
So you don't hypersexualize or objectify a human body.
You'd be surprised. Not from me, but not just because I'm an EMT, you know, just
yeah, but like you specifically, I felt there was like this awareness.
Yeah.
And you were with Justine, and like we talked about our partner. We talked about life, and like I had an understanding, and I think we talked about Justine and making sure she was like
scroll back to those initial conversations.
Those are rad.
Really.
Those are really good. I have those on my computer, and I looked at them the other day because there's one of me in the red jumpsuit holding a disco ball over my head.
Yeah, I remember. Oh, and the one on the floor was great.
Yeah, that one was great. There's some that there's like a plant, or like we were in the kitchen and I had on like a hoodie and I was like leaning against the counter, and there was something behind me that like literally made every shot look like I had like a mohawk or something.
Oh, that did not.
But that place was sick. Like remember the cabinets were like also a mirror, so you were able to get like I was like.
I don't remember that, but those are some of the more epic shots for sure.
For sure.
With the records.
Oh, that was good too. I wasn't talking about those, but I do love that.
By the dining table.
Yes.
That's what you're talking about.
Exactly.
I see.
And you caught that, and I was like, that's so good. Yeah, that place was great. But yeah, that was my first proper
photo shoot.
And I agreed to that. Like outside of you being great, that's still a daunting thing, I think, for a lot of women to put their body on view with someone I didn't know super well, and then also just knowing that like these photos are gonna live. But I came from a place of feeling like that was always bad, and that if you were too much and showing your body too much, that you were asking for the wrong thing, like asking to be objectified. And I started seeing it as art more, and I felt more empowered about it, because I don't think any of the shots we took are hypersexual derogatory.
I think both can be true too, in the sense of like, sure, more objectivity does come out with certain types of photos, right?
Or viewers.
And despite that, you could still have your intentions could still be purely artistic.
Yeah, and you have to know that that's out there. I have the photo of me where the excuse me, everyone.
That was a great one.
The yellow hat's just over me. You can't, and I'm wearing shorts, right?
It's tasteful.
Do you know how many people were like, it was as if I was like naked on the internet.
Were they angry, concerned?
They were concerned that it was like this super attention seeking photo. And I was like, this is, first of all, if people put themselves in bathing suits online all the time, they had less clothes on than I did in that shot. It's just the idea that there wasn't a shirt on underneath it.
It's their imagination.
Which, like, how do they even know, actually? Because you can't even see my shoulders. You can literally see, like, my abs look so nice. But that's the thing. Like, I felt so comfortable in my body for the first time. I had a baby. And I felt so empowered by my body that I remember just being like, I want to document this moment, this body right now for sure. And it helped so much that you had rave reviews of people that I trusted and knew. We had the right conversations to lead up to that. And even when I was there, I felt like very safe. It wasn't weird. It was totally good. But I do think people put their own... Whatever, what can you do? You can't stop people from being bored. You know what I mean? I'm glad you love that photo so much that you stared about it and you're still thinking about it and you want to text me about it.
Oh, wow.
It was like 3 years ago.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I love that photo. I'm going to frame it. I'm going to send it to you, you know? Those shots are sick, though. I love those shots. Yeah, so I'm always excited to see what we do. We've done a lot of different types of shots and shoots.
Yeah, I wonder, like, what if you just took the CTA up and down, like went around the loop, and I wonder if the theme should be contrarian to the CTA. Ooh. Like, what outfits do you want to blend into the CTA? Do you want to stand out on the CTA, or like how do we juxtapose interesting themes on each other.
What comes to me is like a gown.
Whoa.
First.
Are we talking about like a nightgown or a wedding gown?
Not a wedding gown. I
remember we briefly talked about
my
that.
Wedding dress, and like it would be cool to dye that a different color. It's very like got lost in the forest with a beautiful dress and
cool.
like ran away. That's like the vibe
Yeah.
of the dress. But I don't know. I have to think about it because I feel like it depends on like the time of day. We usually like to shoot with light, obviously. But if we did it with like, but I don't want there to be like a whole lighting situation on the CTA. We don't have electricity, maybe. I don't know.
No, but like you could do like a paparazzi vibe.
That's cool. I do love our paparazzi ambassador shots. I know that was like you're testing out like a new light or something, but a lot of some of our favorite shots are you testing out ideas.
Yeah, thanks for just
cool.
being down to clown.
Always. Never bored. We just keep sprinkling it in. Never boring. Yeah, I think I just am excited to see what we keep making as we evolve as humans and artists, and like whatever the next chapter of your life brings, that's going to really bring in new ways that you view things. And it's just so cool. Life experience, getting older, getting new awareness of people, places, and things. I don't know, dude.
Maybe
love
that's the purpose
older.
of life, you know, just like
definitely
collecting perspectives.
That's exactly it. Storytelling. That's what history books are. Everything people gravitate to are stories. That's what people share. That's what people abide by for how they move next.
And so how do you get these stories into the end user's hands and minds?
Yeah, art.
But sometimes it's like there's lines are blurred or not accessible.
Meaning like
so it's like identifying
won't always be in the art because the viewer is not looking for it. No,
it's like either they lack the language that your art is speaking, or it's not even in their purview. They're not their environment doesn't have the art.
Well, that's when I think things like this is so important, giving a platform for the artists to tell about themselves, because like it is.
What if Ted had an extension? I'm sure they have a budget to create a studio.
Yeah, call Victor Chan.
No, not me. Call MK. like, and then MK's the host of the Tedx.
I know
Art
that
podcast.
would be cool. That would be really cool. I feel like there's so like the stories of artists are so unique and rad. How people got. I mean, I don't want to I don't want to tell other people's stories for them right now on this because I could tell you like 8,000, but you have
the language that can ask the appropriate questions.
This is a good idea.
We have a couple.
Seeds. I know somebody who maybe I could rent out his podcast equipment and he could help me. I need help with like editing and all this, but I do love that idea. And that's actually a really fantastic way for me to marry my idea of podcasting and art and a mission that I believe in.
I'm telling you, I told you earlier, like this has become a magnet.
You guys heard it here first.
if you can magnetize the art section of TED, like even more than what it is already.
Definitely. And that's a goal. That's a goal. I really just want to elevate storytellers like you're doing.
Trying.
But with the physical, you're the actual storyteller with words.
But that's the thing. It's like you're telling your story. I don't want to tell your story. So I'm holding space for you to tell your story.
Mean.
Yeah, I know.
That's what I meant to say. But yeah, it's good you clarified it because I don't know if everybody knew. That's what I meant.
No, being able to share people's story is a bonus on top.
Definitely.
On top of getting to hear and meet some of these people.
Yeah. It's an honor.
Because what if these stories don't go viral? Then I feel like shit.
No, I never think about that on this. I think if I go viral, I'm like sick. That's gonna help the podcast.
Yeah, 100%.
I don't know if I said any viral things today, but I am a viral worthy person, everybody. So go click share. Honestly, the easiest thing we should really reiterate to the people at home is like the easiest, most free way to support your creatives or whoever is on social media, and you just hit that little paper airplane share it to your friend's account and just say like, I'm just sharing because I want to support. You don't have to do anything. Or comment, engage. It's free. And it's, what are you doing? You know? Right. I mean, me and all my friends, when one of us posts, we send it to everybody. Each other. But it helps.
Thankfully, the algorithm keeps giving me your stuff, so I'll
We
like
hate the
and comment every time.
we hate the algorithm. Yeah, we're each other's like fans. We're
love
always like,
the algorithm,
hey.
and we hate the algorithm.
Literally, our first thing today was me telling you about the algorithm. You saying,
it
"I
ain't
don't
Friday."
care." Yeah, that was still one of the best things ever. Like, and I don't remember that reel, but I remember thinking like, oh, I'm gonna try a reel.
Yeah, well, at that time, I think
That was the beginning of reels. Crazy.
At that time, I ended up posting on Fridays because I felt like I wanted to get something out before running to work, and it would never track.
Oh
and
my God.
and then I think that's where that came from. Like, don't post on Fridays because like Fridays doesn't do.
But honestly, you're not wrong. Unless I post up Fridays around 4 p.m. and it's pictures of my outfit or something, for some reason, the people love like.
And at its core, when I hear rumblings or grumblings about how something doesn't take off, or like someone has several thousand followers and they deserve more engagement, it comes down to content that's not worthy of engagement.
I posted one of my favorite paintings today, and I think I have like 10
Right.
likes.
And it's a reflection on not just the algorithm, but how short our attention spans are.
Yeah.
And how quick you're to scroll up.
One of the things you taught me was how people love a visual countdown.
Yeah.
And I know you watched that on something, but I tell that to a lot of people. I think that's a really good
that and
thing.
a preface to what the rest of the video is going to be.
And the ones I'm attracted to are when they give you a hook in the beginning and then they go into the process and it's still short.
I think you did this too, a lot of quick cuts. And so
Yeah, I do
the
that a
first
lot.
ASMR, you zoomed in on your mouth. You're like, am I doing this right? This is ASMR.
That was like a slow pan. I have an editing app
quick-
and I'm just
quick
like
cuts.
learning. And I thought it was so funny because I'm like wearing plastic glasses. Clearly everything is like offensive and not relaxed. I mean, my voice, I think, is like a very, like normally when I talk, sometimes it just sounds like this and I sound like I'm high all the time, but I'm not. But people like, I know sometimes, but not always. But that's when people are like, you should do ASMR. And I'm like, that's so funny. Do you guys want this whole episode to be like this?
Well, imagine if someone was chewing gum.
I know when I was drinking my coffee, I was
you
like,
can hear yourself, right? Yeah. Yeah, that's annoying.
that's why I love these, because I was like, oh, this is good. So I'm sorry for the gulps. Sometimes I got excited and I'm like,
I mean, you could be coming down with a cold and coughing in the mic.
oh no, I would have canceled. I would have been like, no, I don't like getting, even with my son being sick and in school, I'm like lucky that I can stay home with him when he's sick because I'm my own boss, but I don't send him if he has a runny nose because he comes back 10 times worse and then I get it. So I just cut it at the source, have him chill, and then send him back to the wolves. It's a wild place, that 4-year-old school.
Okay.
These kids are a trip.
I think this is it.
We gotta shut up. We gotta shut this down.
We've passed the 3-hour mark.
Oh my God.
Follow MK, guys. Give us a like, comment, subscribe.
Make us go viral.
Let her know you want her back. She'll be back as soon as possible.
In less than 2 years.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I'll start with a song.
What do you think? What do you think the theme will be for next time? Here we go, another tangent.
One more.
What do you
guys got
think?
another
What do you
hour?
think next theme is going to be? Because this one's
I honestly
this one's
think
what, never bored community.
Never bored community. Lifting up community, yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it will be about using our creativity and business skills and community.
Is it more maybe? So like
Like my
now,
next projects,
it's still
basically.
nebulous, right? It's still I've
Yes.
been using that word a lot, but like now, next time, is it going to be execution?
Yeah. And how that all went.
Mm-hmm.
And what I want to do differently and how I want to
Or
make
even
it
a
bigger.
recap.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. I'm hoping by the end of like next summer, I'll have a few productions under my belt of things that I've like manifested and brought to life for this creative director
Yeah.
role, and I'll have some more takeaways. And
Iterations.
I have so many stories of how crazy it is that I ended up with X, Y, and Z. Like
Yeah.
I painted a shirt for John Summit 2 years ago when he played at Lollapalooza, just on a whim. The girl who started the residency, he wanted a local artist to paint a shirt, and she picked me, and I had a wedding, so I did it in like, I drove home the next day, did it, whatever. Fast forward 2 years now, I'm creative directing for a DJ that he handpicked and opened for him.
Yeah.
And they all are working. And it's just so
full circle.
Wild
Yeah.
how specific that came back to me.
If you want to call that manifestation, you can. But it's this, give yourself enough credit too.
Yeah. So I think that's what we'll talk about is just, I know for a fact in the next 6 months to a year, our lives will be, again, very different than how we sat down today. And I think we'll have more to share about our dinners.
God, yeah, that's going to happen.
My TED podcast and my production.
Yes.
So look forward to that.
I'm excited.
Follow Victor.
How exciting.
Buy his merch.
Oh God.
Okay. Let's get some podcast money in here. Who can we call? Yeah. Thanks for your time, guys. This is one of my favorite things to do is just feel like now I feel like people have a better understand. I don't talk like this really. So this is such a great opportunity for growth for me as a human and then for people who follow me to kind of see how chaos my brain actually is.
Wonder how many different attempts someone's going to need to go through 3 hours. Because who's got 3 hours of a straight through?
If you guys listen to this whole
straight through
is
just raw
nuts.
dogging MK.
That's nuts.
MK's episode. That sounds
really
weird.
Go on a flight. You go on a flight.
That'll do it.
That'll do it. Anyone on a flight, you got this episode. It's Titanic. This is the Titanic of podcasts. But I mean it in time-wise and not devastating loss of life.
If we were
was very serious.
If we were to co-host an episode, who would you bring on?
Oh man, I don't know if we should bring on like a mutual or someone that we like know and or someone like at the next level.
Oh.
That maybe we don't know super well, but we want...
That we're curious about?
Yeah, that we're curious about. I really do think we'd be a great co-host. I'm not trying to like get on every episode, but once in a while, that would be cool. I think. And you could co-host my TED episode.
If there was someone that you wanted to have a recorded conversation with and you felt like, I can add to the conversation and let me know.
Because you can reel me in. One of my friends was like, the best thing I've heard so far on this podcast is when you told Victor, the first one, that like I could talk to a wall for 10 hours and I need someone to like reel me in. They're like truer words have never been said. I told it to one of my friends. I'm like, I'm the girl who will tell you a really long story at a loud bar that nobody's listening to, but I'm like still going. Call it annoying, call it weird. Let me get it out of my system, you know? But yeah, I think that would be cool.
Okay, we'll make it happen.
We'll see what happens.
It'll be your trial run for TEDx.
Yeah. Do you guys think I got a parking ticket?
Oh, shit.
Do you think that tow truck parked in front of me?
Okay, let's call it. See you in the next episode. What is that? 13 minutes left? Okay. Bye.
I love you guys. Bye.